engines, and we're about to get underway here in Vancouver. There is the pole sitter, car 27, Jacques Villeneuve, who has already won 4 races so far in 1995. That, of course, was Ken Daniels and not Eric Stansfield with the opening ceremonies, the official command to start engines. Unser Jr. There have been 5 previous races here. There's Brian Herta driving for Chip Ganassi. There have been 5 previous races here in Vancouver. Unser Jr. has won 3 of them, and Michael Andretti has won twice. It's a 28-car field. 3 Canadians in this field. The 4th Canadian, Ross Bentley, did not qualify yesterday. There is Salazar, the Chilean driver. A rather disappointing day for Canadian fans already in the Indy Lights Series today. Greg Moore, trying to win his 10th and 11th races, or 10th and 11 races this year, was actually rear-ended going into the hairpin turn by the eventual winner, Pedro Chavez. Greg Moore finishing 6th, and that was Chavez's fault, so we'll talk more about that later. The car's now rolling away from the grid. They will do 3 laps around this course. It's 1.73 miles in length. It's 100 laps here in the race this afternoon. Now, should they not be set and set properly, Bobby Unser, after the 3 laps, that means that Villeneuve, the pole setter, must come through ahead of the number 2 car, Jimmy Vasser. Should they not be set and have to go around a 4th time, that lap would then be part of the 100 lap total.
Yes, they have to do that because of the fuel. These cars hold 40 gallons of fuel. Might as well get that out of the way right now.
I know it.
It's methanol alcohol that they use. It's very tight on fuel. They use about 1 gallon per lap.
Well, let's have a look at this graphic of this course. There's the start-finish area. Now, they move to the left of the screen, down that straightaway. They get, what, 180, 190 miles an hour?
Yes, they get about between 180 and 190. If they draft, they'll get 190 going down there, and that is, look at the sharp one there at the end on the left. That's where they do most of their passing. Watch for that one and get used to it as race goes on.
Then it's up along the top of the screen there. That top arrow is underneath BC Place Stadium. There's Al Unser Jr., followed by Brian Herta. Scott Goodyear qualifying very, very well. The yellow car right here is Scott Goodyear. A tremendous show, qualifying 4th, followed by Michael Andretti. Now let's have a look at the breakdown, engines and chassis here today, Bobby. You talked about Honda. Honda is powering Scott Goodyear, but most of the engines Ford Cosworth.
Yeah, see, look at there, 17 Ford Cosworth engines. Shows you it's the engine of choice right now. 3 Mercedes, or 8 rather. Honda, look at this one. They're pulling more power right now than any of the other engines. Only 3 of them in the race. Next year, there's going to be a bunch of them, though.
Now they come around to complete the first of 3 laps before the official start of this race. There are the chassis.
Yes, and the Renards are obviously the ones of choice. The Lola handling really good, and that's Michael Andretti's car, for example. And not too many Penske's because they're all Penske's personal cars.
Now across the start-finish line for the first time. This is a 100-lap race, 1.73 miles per lap, 2.78 kilometers. Let's meet the 28-car field. the cars now on Pacific Boulevard for the third and final lap. We should be racing the next time they cross the start-finish line. The Kmart car you see there, Paul Tracy rather, and Michael Andretti, the two drivers for Newman Haas here today. Bobby Rahal going through the hairpin, followed by Scott Goodyear. Buck.
You can watch them when they wave across. People often ask me, what are they doing when they work on their cars back and forth? They're trying to get their tires all limbered up, and hopefully the top of the rubber, the actual tread, warmed up just a little bit. In other words, so they don't have a surprise when they go into the turn first time.
Well, Jacques Villeneuve, the pole sitter, will lead the field. They're about to complete the third and final practice lap with a green flag. We'll be racing here in Vancouver.
Another thing, everybody watch when they go down the long straightaway after the start into the hairpin. This is where we see the most action. So all of you that are opening a beer, let it go for a little bit because we're just about there.
Well, that's where Greg Moore was rear-ended by Chavez while leading the Indy Lights race this morning. The pace car is now coming around turn 10. It should go off, and Villeneuve must be ahead of Jimmy Vasser as they come across the start-finish area. It's a 28-car field. As the pace car now will come off, it does, and into the pit, so we must be racing now. That's Villeneuve on the right, Vasser on the left. Villeneuve must come across the line first. Bobby Rahal and Scott Goodyear on row number 2. The green flag is underway. We are racing in Vancouver. And it's Jacques Villeneuve followed by Jimmy Vasser, Bobby Rahal, and Scott Goodyear down onto Pacific Boulevard. So a clean start here. And this is the corner that Bobby Unser says look out for. First through it is Villeneuve. There's Vasser. There's Rahal, followed by Michael Andretti making a move on Scott Goodyear, but he did not get by him.
Boy, that's a turn. You know, I just wish I had 3 cameras right there, because normally something happens, they got you there clean. That's one of the few times we've ever seen that happen. Look at the pileup here.
Nothing serious, but prior to that pileup, Unser Jr. passed both Robbie Gordon. There's Scott Pruitt on the left. That is Paul Tracy on the right. Zampedre coming through. Adrian Fernandez. So we're under a full course yellow here in Vancouver. The Just Do It Nike car is Scott Pruitt. On the right, that is Paul Tracy. And behind Tracy is Johansson. Let's have a look.
Just watching here to see. Look at, whoa, one of the cars got way up in the air.
That was Gilda Ferrin.
Just like that Neon did over there, and it's going to be red flagged. And the reason for this, Brian, is because it's totally blocked down there. I was just holding my breath to see if the officials were going to do that, and sure enough, they did. They have to do it because there's no way for the other cars to get through.
Well, it's been a bumper car sort of weekend here in Vancouver. There is Paul Tracy. Behind him, Stefan Johansson. They're pushing out Scott Pruitt. You're on board now with Brian Herta. Let's see if we can pick up what happened.
Just watch ahead here now, and you can already see the cars are touching each other. A lot of them are bent, nose to tail. Wings are bent. There's Emerson Fittipaldi in the number 2 going by there. You can see DeFerrin's car to the left, the yellow car. Now we're on board with Paul Tracy. Boom, he got hit. Look at him go up under Robbie Gordon, raise Robbie Gordon completely up in the air. And that's the reason I started mentioning just a bit ago his front wing is bent, but at least it didn't look like it was not clear off.
So a rough start here in Vancouver. We will return to coverage of Players Limited IndyCar racing on CBC right after this. We're under a full course yellow. The red flag is out.
Being one self-styled expressionist, punctuating the ordinary, searching innermost pockets for your ID, detecting the truthfulness necessary to unapologetically say, this is the way I am.
And weave the rest, do your dance, do it high, do it low, all the way around the ring.
The Formula Ones are coming to Monza, home of the Tifosi, where Ferrari's faithful never lose hope. And Damon Hill rides with back-to-back Italian GP titles next Sunday.
Back live in Vancouver, coverage of the Molson Indy here on CBC. The red flag is out. The cars are into the pits. And Bobby, let's explain just why that red flag was out. It's the blockage. And first, before doing that, let's show what happened. First, there comes Villeneuve through. And
as soon as they start going through their double abreast, what happened was DeFerrin ran over somebody's tires. He was trying to pass on the outside. Now, you can't get through there two abreast. Everybody can just look at that and see can't happen unless you're down to like first gear.
That yellow car is Gil DeFerrin driving for Texan Jim Hall. He's got Mercedes power and Ilmore. Right now, let's go down to the pits and Ken Daniels.
All right, Brian, and I'm in Pat Patrick's pit. Driver is Scott Pruitt. Pat, how did Scott describe to you what happened out there?
We're trying to sort it out. It looks to us like Al Jr. and Gil DeFerrin got together. And I think Al went into the wall. Scott hit his brakes and locked it up. When he did that, he stalled the engine. So he did not have contact with anyone. He just stalled the engine, so they red flagged race. I think they're going to start us over. We're trying to determine that now.
And Scott Pruitt will be back out there. Right now, let's go further down pit road. And here's Greg.
Thanks very much, Ken. Obviously, on that in-car video, you saw as Tracy got into the back of Gordon. Gordon came right up over it. Now you take a look, you can see they're pulling the front wings right off of the Tracy Budweiser Kmart entry, and they're having a little problem. Some of the damage to the wing, they had to pull one of the plates off to be able to get to it. They've taken the entire front wing section off of the car and are replacing it. This is one of the nice things about the way these cars are designed, almost in compartments. It makes this kind of fix quick. They're concerned, obviously, with that front suspension, make sure there was no damage there. And I think if you look right in, if you can see a look inside that top compartment, it's a mono shock configuration. Not all the cars run that. Brian?
All right, Greg, I mentioned a bumper car sort of weekend. The Atlantic race yesterday actually won under a full course yellow. Let me set the stage. This occurred on the first lap. Villeneuve, the pole sitter, Vassar, Rahal, Goodyear, Andretti, Fabi, and Unser Jr. got through clean. That yellow car there belongs to Gil DeFerrin. The trouble apparently started. We saw Robbie Gordon's car. Underneath Gordon went Paul Tracy. Also involved Gil DeFerrin, Scott Pruitt, Gugelman, Paul Tracy, Christian Fittipaldi, and Emerson Fittipaldi coming in just behind and apparently escaping damage. There is Bobby Rahal. Rahal, a former overall champion, Raul Boesel, and we understand in 2 or 3 minutes we will get a decision on just what is going to happen. Teo Fabi's car in the pits. Bobby, what's your betting?
Well, I think that what happened was they tried to get there two abreast. You can't do it. It's too narrow. The chicanes are meant to slow the cars. DeFerrin's car right there. They're meant, it doesn't look damaged all that bad, but boy, he sure almost turned over, got way up on 2 wheels. But it's meant to slow it down, to slow the straightaway speeds down. That's exactly what they're for. And you can't get through there two abreast, and that's what the intention is again. So guys were trying to make too many gains early on.
Well, Jacques Villeneuve into the pits, the entire field into the pits. We heard Pat Patrick say they will probably give them an official restart. The incident occurred on the first lap.
Well, the problem is how are they going to score it if they don't have a complete restart? But that's what the officials be thinking about right now.
And right now, let's go down to Ken Daniels. Kenny?
And I'm with Derek Walker. Robbie Gordon said the whole front nose on his car replaced.
Yeah, we had a little bit of damage. A couple of guys got a little bit carried away with themselves a bit too early there and caused us a bit of a shunt. We were jammed in the middle of it. Damaged the nose, cut the rear tire. So we're waiting to see what CART are going to do, whether they're going to have a new start, completely new race, or whether they're just going to restart the existing race that has got barely 1 lap.
What about the tires? Can you switch them?
Well, that's going to be a question for CART, because technically speaking, we qualified with a set of tires. Now they're being cut through no fault of our own, so we just need a deliberation. I'm sure common sense is going to prevail, and we're going to get on with the race. But guys just got a bit too carried away with themselves.
Boy, Brian, I'll tell you, everybody down here is waiting for answers. Back to you.
All right, Kenny, we hear from our control truck. Our producer, Lawrence Kimber, is saying it looks maybe like a single file restart. Still nothing official from CART. Bobby?
Well, they're going to have to just read the rule book. Wally Dallenbach, who's very good at doing a job like this, will be looking at the rule book and see what it says. And Common sense won't prevail. The rule book will, I promise you.
and Unser's never one to agree with the rules. You saw Gil DeFerrin, who is out of this race. There's his car, owned by Jimmy Hall. It's a Lola chassis with Mercedes power. So the incident, a minor incident here, as they approached BC Place Stadium to go underneath it, occurred on the first lap. Villeneuve went through clean, as did Vassar, Rahal, Goodyear, Andretti, and Fabi. Also Al Unser Jr. involved in the slight mishap. There's Gil DeFerrin's car. Involved were Robbie Gordon, Gil DeFerrin, Scott Pruitt, Gugelmin, Tracy.
What they're trying to do now, they're scatting around. They don't know what the official ruling is going to be. That's his backup car. So are they taking pieces off, or are they going to try to put it in? If it's a restart, they'll try to put it in the race.
All right, stay with us. A wild Sunday afternoon here on the West Coast. The Molson Indy live coverage on CBC before a record crowd in Vancouver will continue after this.
And certainly this is one of those things that
Look, here comes Mom.
The joy of our new minivans is that they have a sliding door for loading groceries.
Ice cream, all right!
Excellent! What's that?
Get a special on liver and Brussels sprouts.
And an available sliding door on the other side for quietly unloading them.
Let's go.
I like the idea of news in the morning. You're telling people something they actually don't know, what's been happening overnight, but also to jump right on a story as soon as it breaks and get to know as much about it as fast as we can. It's new, and you're just starting to understand it. People get up in the morning, reach for the coffee, turn on the television set, and bang, the news is there. It's fresh.
The CBC Morning News with Bill Cameron, starting September 11th on CBC Television.
Vancouver, the Players Limited IndyCar Racing Series continuing on CBC with Bobby Unser, Greg Creamer, and Ken Daniels. I'm Brian Williams. We've had a minor accident on the first lap. There's Gil DeFerrin's backup car. Paul Tracy is also in his backup car. Our producer, Lawrence Kimber, tells me now, Bobby Unser, it is official. This accident occurring on that chicane on the first lap, so they will have an entire restart to the race. It will be a single file restart. Now we'll have to check on the lap total. There's Paul Tracy. Paul Tracy's in his backup car. Michael Andretti was not involved in that, but Tracy very much was. So was Robbie Gordon. So it's a single file restart. This is supposed to be a 100-lap race. What is your betting?
Well, but here's the thing that's important about this. Like DeFerrin's car right there, they can put their backup car in because it's a new race. In other words, the race officially didn't start. It's a restart. So therefore, the guys can get another car in, and that's very important.
Do you think it'll be a full 100 laps?
No, they'll have to take it off because of the fueling. Now, Wally could say refuel the cars again, but I doubt that.
All right, speaking of fuel, Ken Daniels, you've got some information?
Well, the word down here, Brian, was that Valvoline was going to come by and top up all the cars for the fuel that had been used, but they cannot take any fuel out of the tanks that are in the pits. That's the word down here.
Well, those are 40-gallon tanks again, and they get roughly 1.8 miles to the gallon.
Okay, well, what this means, what they've just told us is it will be a full 100 laps. In other words, it will just be another complete race like nothing ever happened, with the exception it'll all be in single file.
Well, here's a name familiar to Canadians, Texan Jim Hall. Remember the old Chaparral days? Greg Creamer?
Thanks, Brian. Indeed, Jim, 8th place on the grid. Looked like you guys were set for a good one. Early problems in the race, and you've got a bit of a decision to make. Fix the new car or go to the backup?
Yeah, it looks like we probably don't have time to fix the car that was involved in the incident, so we're going to go to the backup car and get it ready for the race. It looks like we've got time to do that. They red flagged it, and they've decided to make it a restart so we can run the backup car.
They have done that. The question is, I understand that the backup car might not be set up quite the same as the primary.
It's not exactly the same, but there's not very many differences, and they're going to try to get it converted over during this period of time. It just depends on how much time we got before the start, whether we get all that done or not.
Any indication of what happened on the track from Gilles?
No, I haven't talked to Gilles, and I couldn't tell from the monitor myself.
All right, Jim, thanks very much. Good luck. We know he's busy. One of the nice things, obviously, is having a driver of Gilles' ability. He'll make the adjustment to that backup car. He'll be quick. Brian?
All right, Greg, we've received new information. It will be a double file start, cars side by side. It'll be just like a regular start. There is the two-lane start, I should say. There is the Valvoline fuel truck, so it's coming up to top off the tanks. Bobby, I remember back in my high school days going up to Mosport to watch that Can-Am series. Remember Jimmy Hall and that big chaparral?
First guy that ever invented ground effects cars. What that means is a car that uses some sort of means to suck itself to the racetrack, not just by using wings.
There's Unser Jr. Number 1 signifies that he is the defending overall PPG IndyCar champion.
You can see he must have attained a little bit of damage also, because they're changing the nose on his car. He's going through a repair job too. There's a lot of cars got bent down there, and we couldn't see them all because they were stacked up under each other, on top of each other, and around each other.
Hey, you know, that looks like that Chrysler Neon race. That one we ran before, it occurred in the same place.
I think this one was more exciting.
I think just a bit. So the cars are back in the pits, and we'll show you the overall standings. A very important race for Canadian race fans as Jacques Villeneuve comes in here. Now, Bobby Rahal is second, Michael Andretti third. Unser Jr. had a win taken away in Portland, Oregon. It was given to Jimmy Vasser. Should that be reinstated under protest, he still has a mathematical chance to catch Villeneuve, but if Villeneuve finishes 6th or better here today, it's all over. Villeneuve is the overall PPG IndyCar champion. Paul Tracy down in 7th place with 94 points. But, Bobby, we saw what happened to Greg Moore, but still Villeneuve pretty well has it all wrapped up here today.
Well, he really does. He's got to stay clean, though. He wants, you know, we're only one race away from the end of the season, so he wants to wrap it up here. Now, of course, little Al doesn't want that. Rahal doesn't want that, but for sure, this man right here, Villeneuve, he does want it because he wants to be the champion. When he goes to Formula One, it's really important to come out being the kart champion. Television-wise, kart is doing, or IndyCars are doing better than Formula One.
Well, Formula One simply is not the show IndyCar racing is right now, and, you know, people don't want to see one car going around 30 seconds in front of the rest of the field.
And for any driver like Villeneuve going to Formula One or going to any other series, hey, they want to be the champion when they leave going in. They have a lot more attention, a lot better reputation.
Ken Daniels, back to you in the pits.
All right, Brian, thank you. And while we're in the pits, let's talk about pit selection for a moment since we have some time. This is Andre Ribeiro's pit right here. He was the winner in New Hampshire, and he also qualified first. It's the top qualifier gets their first choice for pit selection. But because Scott Goodyear joined his team for this race, it brought down his average points, so IndyCar gave him this spot in the pits. Now, as you can see right here, there is a break in the pits, so he has a clean in to come in for his pit stop. Now, Teo Fabi qualified second in New Hampshire. He is at pit out, where you don't have any traffic in front of you leaving the pit. Michael Andretti qualified 9th. He took pit in way down at the other end, where you may have some traffic coming out, but you get into the pit quickly. Maybe it's all a crapshoot. I want to ask Bobby Unser. Pit out is the best place to be, I suppose, but does it really matter, Bobby?
Well, Ken, it does to the car owners that make these decisions, or the team managers. To you and I, we don't really see a lot of times it makes any difference at all, except for like right there, DeFerrin's car. Hey, he's got a big gap before he gets out. You really do need that. There is preference places, but like one time Penske will be at completely one end of the track. At the next race, he may want to be at the other end of the track. So that's the big crapshoot we don't know about.
So it'll be a restart here in Vancouver, a full 100-lap race as the Valvoline truck is out topping up the methanol. There is Emerson Fittipaldi's car, a full 100-lap race. They will start side by side. On the first row, it'll be the pole sitter Jacques Villeneuve and alongside Jimmy Vasser. We will return live to Vancouver, Players Limited IndyCar Racing on CBC right after this.
Pull it up?
Yeah, and could you clean the windows, please?
No problem.
Thanks.
The windows on our new minivans are now bigger than ever before. 32% more on the windshield alone. Of course, how that makes you feel
Terrific.
depends entirely on your point of view.
Just spray it on?
Just spray it on. Quicksilver wheel cleaner from Armor All. Just spray it on, and then just spray it off.
That's it?
That's it. Quicksilver wheel cleaner. Everyone knows water and wax don't mix. Everyone's wrong.
Introducing Wax Packs, the revolutionary car wax that disperses in soap and water to wax your car while you wash it.
I'm waxy.
New Wax Packs, waxes while you wash.
Magnificent Sunday afternoon, a record crowd here in Vancouver. It's Concord Pacific Place, the Molson Indy Vancouver on CBC. An accident on the first lap. It involved Robbie Gordon, Gil DeFerrin, Unser Jr. You saw his front wing. Scott Pruitt, Paul Tracy was involved. So what we're going to do, if you're just joining us, is that truck there in the picture. The left of the picture is the Valvoline truck. They use methanol, Bobby, as the fuel. Each car holds 40 gallons. They get about 1.8 miles to the gallon. This track is 1.73 miles around. So each car is being topped up, and they will officially restart this race here in Vancouver, and it is going to make for a very long afternoon.
And as our audience watches the race, remember a lap per gallon, so you can sit at home and figure out the pit stop somewhat on your own, other than the yellow flags. You can do your own kind of game planning like we do right here in the booth, because you know 1 gallon per lap.
Now, if we can stay with this picture, what are they doing? They're putting the methanol, it looks like, into a plastic...
yes, the plastic jug has a quick refill on it, or goes in the vent part of the tank. And they'll just put that on top, shake the cars really good, and they'll be starting like as if this never happened. Now, we know it happened, but they're going to start the race again all brand new. The officials have changed their minds several times, but this is what Wally Dallenbach, who runs the race right now. Once the cars go out on the track, Wally Dallenbach, the chief steward, is total boss. So this is what he's decided they're going to do.
Bobby, a lot of people looking in for the first time. Talk to me about the difference between methanol and gasoline and why they use it.
Well, methanol is a lot safer fuel. It's really used for safety. It's an alcohol. It burns, like, for example, with half of the BTUs as gasoline does, or uses twice as much as gasoline. Makes it a lot safer. Another thing, it's very soluble to water. Water will mix with it very good. So in order to put a methanol fire out, number one, it's only burning at half the BTUs because the volume spreads out. Number two, they can put water on it. The water mixes with it, makes it almost like a tame fire. So safety is the reason.
Well, as they top up the cars here and we prepare for a restart, that's Parker Johnstone's car. Let's take you back to the Indy Light Series this morning. Maple Ridge, British Columbia, the proud home of Larry Walker, the Colorado Rockies, Boston's Cam Neely, and Greg Moore, who had won 9 of 10 races coming in here to Vancouver, was trying to break Paul Tracy's record. Here he is leading. Watch what Chavez does to him into turn 3.
Now what happens right here, you just watch the car behind. That's Chavez's car there. He's locked up in his brakes. All he can lock up, he can't stop. Greg Moore, who was totally innocent of the incident, is doing the proper thing. He's going to stop. It's actually the hairpin turn. As you watch to the right, as Chavez goes around to the right, that's the hairpin turn. They've got to stop in order to make the turn. Chavez just braked too late, used Greg Moore as a stopping board, spun him out, which was really sad for Greg Moore. But of course, Chavez went on to win the race, so he benefited from it.
And Greg Moore trying to win in front of his hometown fans. Speaking of hometown favorites, his hometown is not Vancouver, but he is certainly a Canadian. Jacques Villeneuve, the pole sitter here in Vancouver. So next week down at Laguna Seca in California, Greg Moore will have a chance to win for the 10th time this year and break Paul Tracy's record. The feeling, Bobby, is next year that we look at Players. Players is leaving Barry Green and going to Forsyth Racing. Barry Green is the one running this team with Jacques Villeneuve. Barry Green loses Players. Players goes to Forsyth. The hot rumor is Greg Moore from Maple Ridge will race in the IndyCar Series for Forsyth.
Well, he certainly deserves it. He's been the most outstanding star that Indy Lights has ever had, and he just needs this chance.
All right, let's go down to Greg Creamer. Greg.
Thanks, Brian. Bobby, I think we may have solved the Gil DeFerrin issue, or the question, really, as to what happened there. I was over talking to Chris Mears, who does the publicity for Al Jr., and apparently it was Gil and Al that got together. They said they don't know who precipitated it, just that they got together. They had to replace the front wings on Al's car as well. Interestingly, on the pre-grid, I chatted with Al for just a minute. You'd have to think that going into these last 2 races with that protest, the appeal not being resolved yet, hanging over his head, that would wreak a little havoc on his mind. He said, no, it doesn't make any difference. He absolutely has to win both races. More on Ken.
Well, thank you, Greg. I'm with Scott Goodyear, and talk about your pit stop. This is a new one. I bet you never thought you'd have time to go to a bathroom after a race starts.
Well, you know, you just sort of anticipate the worst sometimes, I guess, because everybody's out of their cars, and it's a bit of a delay. It's unfortunate, but I think it's the characteristics of this track. It's actually very, very tight to pass, and the competitiveness of IndyCar right now, the first 15 guys probably capable of winning the event, things get a little overheated, I'm sure.
Where were you when all this happened?
We were right in fourth, right behind Ray Hall, and we got through, and the lap was clear, but you never really pay attention to what's going on behind you.
You haven't done much racing this year, and yet you've had a fantastic weekend. It's just been super. How does this mentally affect you on a restart? Does it affect you?
No, it doesn't affect you. It's the same for everybody. Have an opportunity to come and speak to great guys like you and hang out and enjoy the sun.
All right, at least we know you'll make it the rest of the way. You'll be okay. Scott, thank you. Scott Goodyear. Brian?
All right, Kenny, you mentioned that he is lightly raced on the IndyCar circuit. This is only his third race, Bobby Unser. He ran the Indy 500, that famous second-place finish to Villeneuve, also ran at Mid-Ohio. Comes in here with this Honda-powered car, car 24, driving for Steve Horn and Tasman, and qualifies fourth yesterday. He ran out of fuel. He actually thought he might win the pole.
That was Steve Horn right on the left. He's a great mechanic, a great team manager. I think that of all this, that really, really, really great mechanics that are here, some of them would be Steve Horn and obviously Barry Green, the one that Villeneuve drives for.
Well, you talked about Barry Green. We're looking at Jim Hall's car, Gil DeFerrin, the driver. You have to feel sorry for Barry Green. Here's a fella that brings along the overall IndyCar champion. It's expected that Villeneuve will win that. He wins the overall IndyCar championship. He wins the Indy 500. He loses not only his driver, but also his sponsor.
Sometimes it makes you wonder, doesn't it? The world doesn't seem fair. Barry Green is one of the nicest, smartest guys I've ever known in motor racing.
Well, we are about to restart the Vancouver Molson Indy. It will be an official restart, a full 100-lap race. Stay with us, folks. We'll return. Players Limited IndyCar Racing will continue live from Vancouver on CBC right after this.
Row number 4 on the inside, 6 wins this year, including a win from the pole.
For drivers like Jacques Villeneuve, the morning becomes electric. Because there's a black asphalt battlefield ahead, where legends like Andretti, Unser, and Fittipaldi are waiting, and where a legend in the making is waiting for them. Players Limited's leadership in Canadian motor racing continues as it sponsors 1994 IndyCar Rookie of the Year, Jacques Villeneuve, and the Players Limited racing team in the PPG IndyCar World Series. The ultimate test of man and machine. Players Limited, a tradition of excellence.
Back live in Vancouver, Players Limited IndyCar Racing continues here on CBC. Let's go down to the pits, and once again, Kenny Daniels. Ken?
Thank you, Brian, and have Robbie Gordon, who has to get back in his car in just a second. So quickly, Robbie, your thoughts on what happened out there?
I don't know what DeFerrin was thinking. It was a good try, but just didn't work. He tried passing. He got by Junior and me in the hairpin, and then I think Junior and him were fighting going into the next chicane, and he caught tires.
Nose replaced, tires okay?
Yeah, our tires were okay. We had to replace a rear where I was trying to slow down to prevent from getting in that accident, and I think Paul Tracy ran in the back of me, but not a big deal.
And Derek Walker mentioned you need a clearance from Indy. Is that okay? You can run these tires?
These are the same tires we qualified on. They say qualify on them also.
Okay, sure, all right. All right, Robbie Gordon's okay. He's getting back into the car. Brian, back to you.
Kenny, Robbie Gordon, a two-time winner this season, won on the short oval at Phoenix and then won at Detroit on the Belle Isle Street Course. Bobby Unser, we've got some time on this Sunday afternoon. They're going to restart this race after the incident on the first lap, a minor incident, no injuries. Talk to me. People looking in for the first time today, watching IndyCar racing, hear all the rumors that Tony George, the man that runs the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, wants to start his own racing series next year exclusively on ovals. And he is now at war with Roger Penske and the kart series. Where does it stand?
Ironically, first place, Tony George is the family. That's the
Holman family.
The Holman family that really owns the Speedway, and he's the chairman of the board. And he's not really at war, ironically, with Roger Penske. He's at war with IndyCar, with kart.
That's
we know it,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And Roger's really not heading up the drive on the thing. What it is he wants to have more of an oval track series. And it's going to create a war between what we see right here, IndyCar racing, and he's going to have a new one come up and try to divide this. And of course, the ultimate goal would be to break IndyCar and therefore have all of it for himself, or call it his series or the new series he starts or whatever. And it's not healthy for the sport right now.
But let's explain it as simply as possible for the viewers. What this could mean is Tony George controls Indianapolis. He also wants races at Disney World in Orlando, in Phoenix. Where else? There's 5 in total.
Well, New Hampshire they're going to get for sure. There's a new track being built in Las Vegas, Nevada, the gambling place. It's way away from the gambling casinos, but it's going to be a beautiful $77 million track. The problem with all of this is there's not enough room in motor racing, the top of motor racing, which is what this is, for 2 organizations. So down the road, one would have to fail. Now, Tony, controlling Indianapolis Motor Speedway, has already announced that he's going to restrict all of these guys having the right to go there and try to qualify for the race. The fans are very upset over this. They're not liking it. They want all their race drivers, their heroes. They want all of these cars to have a legitimate, honest chance to qualify at the biggest race in the world, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
There's Scott Goodyear, his car being topped up. Speaking of Indy, he's been second twice. So what you're saying is, if the fight is not settled between CART and Tony George, he's saying, look, Michael Andretti, Al Unser Jr., Villeneuve, if he was still here, you can't race in the Indy 500. If the CART series was to stand firm, do you think George could run the Indy 500 without any of the top drivers?
No, I think if these guys stay together, it's going to really upset Tony's planning and all the other people that are helping him. I think it's a terrible thing to do. And technically, he's going to have 9 places, he says, that he's going to allow for these guys to come in. And like all of the CART cars, we see 28 of them here today, vie for 9 spots instead of the 33 normal. Now, this is not right. This is not the way sports are supposed to be. And it's okay if he's got to have a war. That's fine, but he shouldn't let the war go into the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which, being the greatest race on earth, the biggest race on earth, that should not be the tool.
And you know what the problem could be? We've had a labor dispute, many labor disputes in baseball, one in hockey. The fans have still not forgiven Major League Baseball. They look on the owners as being greedy. They look on the players as being greedy. You know, Formula One is full of politics. IndyCar has been free from politics, and I'll tell you what, they get into a nasty fight between Tony George and CART. The racing public might not be that forgiving.
Well, I totally agree. In fact, it's terrible when you're on the outside, such as I am, and you're looking in and you're saying, when IndyCar racing is so popular, when it's doing so great, as we can see, every seat in the house seems to be sold, why do we have to have a problem now? I find it unnecessary.
There's Mauricio Gugelmin. I mentioned as we ran down the grid, and let's show you some of the cars. There's Paul Tracy. Paul Tracy was involved in that minor shunt down on the chicane by BC Place Stadium. You like Gugelmin?
Yes, I certainly do. Right there's Paul Tracy. I was just going to mention real quick, he's been in, that's his race car. He's been in the spare car, and he's back to this one now. So everybody's been vying, what can they do the best? Like Jim Hall said, what can I do the best in the least amount of time?
Well, Peter Dunn said that he actually took the seat. Is that right? Out of his regular car. This is Paul Tracy, Christian Fittipaldi there, ran down to the backup car, put it in, lifted it out, and ran back to his regular car.
That's because the mechanics said, come on, we've got enough time to do this one, whichever one, you know, go for it.
There's Emerson Fittipaldi's car. Word is, as Emo gives us the thumbs up, that he'll be back with Roger Penske next year.
There's another year on that contract for certain sure.
Now, Paul Tracy likely will return to Roger Penske. They'll run a 3-car team. Al Unser Jr. There's Brian Herta's car. Al Unser Jr., Emerson Fittipaldi, and Paul Tracy. The feeling is Christian Fittipaldi, is that right, Bobby Unser, will replace Paul Tracy at Newman Haas with Michael Andretti?
You and I are sure of that. They just haven't announced it yet. Brian Herta, for example, will stay with Chip Ganassi as far as I know, as well as Jimmy Vasser staying with that same team. It's good if the drivers stay with the same teams. It's good for the teams often, incidentally.
Well, car 24 belongs to Scott Goodyear. There's his teammate, car 31, Andre Ribeiro, also driving for Steve Horn. Ribeiro winning for the first time on the IndyCar circuit. That was at the short oval at New Hampshire. You figured that day had a lot of things in his favor.
Oh, he did. The Firestone tires. You know, it's Goodyear and Firestone this year. The tire wars are wonderful over here. Makes the racing good. Here it was, practically a rookie. Just absolutely ran away and dominated that race. And it was mostly, in my opinion at least, the Firestone tires that did it. The Honda engine, of course, makes a lot of power this year. They've outpowered all the others, so they're looking good.
All right, let's go down and hear from Chip Ganassi. Ken?
Yeah, and you two were just talking about Jimmy Vasser and Brian Herta. Let's ask the man who knows. Chip, they'll both be with you again next year?
Yeah, we're going to have an announcement next Saturday of our 96 plans at Laguna Seca. And all the fans can look forward to seeing Brian and Jimmy back with us next year.
Jimmy's had a terrific second half, certainly in terms of qualifying.
He really has. You know, we felt in the beginning of the year we were just plagued by some mechanical problems. And once we got those behind us, we seemed to, once we get to the finish, we were in the points. So we were happy. And, you know, we had a lot of podium finishes there mid-season. We got to get back on the podium here at the end.
Chip, have you ever seen anything that has happened like it did today?
Well, interestingly enough, the last time there was a red flag, I think, was Australia in 1994, and our team won that race. So maybe that's something to be said. It's a good omen, maybe.
And that was with Michael.
That was with Michael. You know, he's good at this place, too. For that
yes. Well, maybe it is a good omen for you, Chip. Thank you. Brian?
All right, Kenny, Chip doesn't need to hold that news conference.
No, he doesn't. He just announced it, but we just did it before he did anyway, so we beat him to it. And he better remember that thing down in Australia. I was there. That was a rain race, and we certainly don't have any rain coming to Vancouver today. In fact, I can't find a cloud from where I sit.
Here's what happened. This was the first lap. That's Villeneuve, the blue car, the pole sitter, followed by Jimmy Vasser, Bobby Rahal. The yellow car is Scott Goodyear. After Goodyear came Michael Andretti and Teo Fabi. Now watch the yellow car go in the air right here. It's in the middle of your screen. It shoots up in the air. That is Gilda Ferrin, Al Jr., and Paul Tracy underneath.
Gil was trying to pass on the slow motion. We can see it nice. He was trying to pass little Al on the outside. You can see him right there, and he gets up over at little Al's left front tire. That's one of the worst things you can do in open wheel racing. That's what bent little Al's nose right there. And so Gil was trying to make a pass. You don't do it in the chicane. It's just not possible. You don't get through there two abreast almost no matter what the circumstances are.
And as a result of this, the Marlboro car is Christian Fittipaldi. There's Al Unser Jr. You're on board with Brian Herta. Now you're on board with Paul Tracy. Let's see what happened from Tracy's point of view.
You can see Gil in the yellow car. DeFerrin way up there. You can see him up in the air, almost turned over. Boy, he's one lucky driver. Bad place to turn over. It's like that neon we saw earlier. He could have turned over and gone right into the top of the car. Not a good way to do it.
They had a celebrity race here earlier today. Neil McRae, a prominent local sportscaster with CKNW Radio, very fortunate that his car didn't actually crush when it went into the wall. So the cars, there is Michael Andretti, followed by Teo Fabi as they come back out. There's Gilda Ferrin. Number one is Al Unser Jr., Scott Pruitt, Gugelman, Paul Tracy, Christian Fittipaldi. The cars are coming back out. I assume we will take again the 3 laps with a pace car to get the field set, and then they will officially restart this race. It will go the full 100 laps. That truck with a V in the background, the Valvoline truck, is the truck that has now topped up the fuel on all 28 cars.
And there's the lineup. Now, we don't know how many laps they're going to take. They've really had enough warm-up here to last for a long time. So we'll have to see. Wally may call it a little bit less than that. But remember one thing. They technically, the way I see it, should do the 3 warm-up laps or start the 3rd time by again. And the reason is for the amount of fuel. Everything they do on these starts is predicated on the fuel.
There's Bobby Rahal now. We should point this out as we look at Michael Andretti, Teo Fabi, Robbie Gordon, Gilda Ferrin, car number 1, Al Unser Jr. There's Scott Pruitt. There's Maurizio Gugelman. The Kmart car is Paul Tracy. We should point out that in this race now, the fuel has been topped up. The strategy will be exactly the same.
Yes, it has to be the same, and my guess has to be that they're going to start it the 3rd time by. It's just going to be like as if this race never happened in the past, but we did see a lot of excitement.
Now there's Villeneuve. Right behind him is Vasser, and there is Bobby Rahal. Here's Scott Goodyear, the yellow car, Michael Andretti, Teo Fabi. I should point out that today Bobby Rahal has a case of strep throat. 1 year ago, Mike Dennis pointing this out to me, 1 year ago, your nephew, Al Unser Jr., was sick with food poisoning and won here. So maybe that's a good omen today for this man, car 9, Bobby Rahal.
It's amazing what a driver can come up with when it comes around to the race time. But people can just understand the adrenaline that flows when they really get into a race. It's awesome.
And there is the Dodge Stealth pace car, Jacques Villeneuve, Jimmy Vasser. There's Bobby Rahal. Scott Goodyear will start fourth. They've now completed 1 lap. It looks like they will take 3 laps, and then we will officially restart this race here in Vancouver. Bobby Unser, boy, it seems like we've been on the air here for hours as we're now on board with Michael Andretti. Take us around this course with Michael.
Well, the first thing you got to remember, it's been nice for us, maybe not nice for the fans, but it's been nice for us because we've been able to talk about a lot of things we can't do during the race, and that's been nice. We're down the long straightaway now. Just look as we come down the hairpin. Just imagine now, you're going 180 to 185 miles an hour going down there, and this is where the passing happens. Now watch, you come around, it's literally a hairpin too. 2 little kinks in it, but a hairpin. Now around the left, now this goes down to the chicane where they had their problems. Look at this, and you can see how narrow it gets when you get into there. Into the left, and real quick to the curve to the right there. And then
here's where they had the trouble right here.
Yeah,
there's Scott Goodyear.
Yeah, there's Scott Goodyear coming around. Both of the chicanes, there's 2 of them. Both of them on the back side of the track. They're both almost virtually the same. There's the tunnel. There's where it starts. Remember, they go from being really light with sunshine, which we have a lot of today, into this dark tunnel. And then when they come out of this tunnel, they come around to bright sunshine again. Their eyes have to change a lot, so you have to kind of fantasize with the drivers what they're going through there. It isn't easy, and they have to get used to it.
Bobby, I mentioned when we came on the air at 12:30 here on the West Coast at 3:30 Eastern, we mentioned that Jacques Villeneuve would be leaving for Formula One. Really, the IndyCar series now with an international flavor. There is Scott Goodyear slowing up, and he appears to have some problems, but now Michael Andretti comes back on him, no problem.
Just trying to burn his tires. He was trying to lay back, get his turbocharger, and let him spin the tires a little bit to get them hot.
All right, here's the signal. 1 more lap. We can see the official starter. 1 more lap. 1 practice lap, and we'll be racing in Vancouver. There's Bobby Rahal, there's Scott Goodyear. Let me again talk about the fact that IndyCar racing has now an international flavor. Drivers from so many countries.
Oh, look at this right here. United States 9. It's a wonder that that's number 1 on the list. Brazil 7, Canada 3, and 3 darn good ones I might mention. Italy and Mexico. Now, that is just starters. Every year it gets spread out. More and more countries come in. We've had a lot more. Look at here, Argentina, Sweden, Japan, and Chile. That's Chile and Argentina. You say Chile, I call it Chile because we have Chile and New Mexico.
No, I say Chile, but he's a Chilean. That's what we get. The driver from Argentina is Juan Manuel Fangio, the nephew of the great Fangio, who died at age 84 earlier this year in Argentina. 5 world championships in the 1950s. But it is truly an international series. At dinner last night, your son Robbie Unser, who's up here, might go into the Indy Lights or the IndyCar series. He was telling me as he talks to different owners, they've all got 5 or 6 letters from European drivers that want to come to IndyCar racing.
And European means a lot of those lists that you see. It's countries from all over the world. IndyCar racing is number 1 in the world today. It's ahead of Formula One. It outdraws them, and it's certainly got a better television audience. For example, there are more people watching in Brazil, watch this race today in Brazil, than watch it in the United States.
And of course, next year there is a new super oval in Brazil, and the IndyCar circuit will go to Brazil. Jacques Villeneuve, Jimmy Vasser, Bobby Rahal, Scott Goodyear, Michael Andretti, Teo Fabi. The pace car should come off. Now, Villeneuve on the right of your screen, the pace car is coming off. We should get a green flag. Villeneuve must cross the start-finish line ahead of Jimmy Vasser, who's on the left.
Well, you notice they're all getting lined up now on the 2 lines, 2 abreast.
Look at Vasser waiting for Villeneuve to pass him. Approaching the start-finish area. Villeneuve's in the lead. No, they did not get a green flag.
The thing is it isn't that Villeneuve has to be ahead. They have to be at least even. In other words, if one's a little bit ahead, the other's not so bad. But that was a crazy mixed-up start. A lot of it caused by Vasser trying to get a jump on it. He has to cool it. Villeneuve is the guy that sets the pace. He got the pole. He deserves that. He's earned it. He sets the pace. So if one of the cars gets ahead of him like that, he just has to slow down. They won't throw the flag.
So it was a good call by the starter, and the mistake by car 12, Jimmy Vasser. Now, they'll go around. This lap they're on now counts in the 100 race lap total, or 100 lap total.
Right, we'll start with 99 laps to go in this race now, which is all right. Now they should line up. That was a no start, so they'll have to go back to 2 abreast again when they come back around. They won't do it here because again you can't get through the chicanes 2 abreast. But as soon as they get down to the closer to the starting line, 2 abreast again.
And as I was trying to say before I got tongue-tied there, they will hopefully start at this time. The starter has the green flag out. They must be 2 abreast. This lap is counting in the 100 lap total for this race.
Makes everybody kind of happy. Their fuel mileage is looking better. They use a lot of fuel at this track. Now here they are going 2 abreast now.
Now Vassar's team has had a warning. They have warned Vassar's team on the start. What does that mean?
Well, that means he better not do it again or they're going to put him into the back of the field. That's a terrible penalty. He can't afford it. You watch him this time. He's going to let Villeneuve keep right up with him no matter what.
Vassar's car, the red target car, is on the left of the screen. The blue car is Villeneuve. We have a green flag. And for the second time this afternoon, we're underway with the 1995 Molson Indy Vancouver on the Pacific Boulevard. It's Jacques Villeneuve, followed by Jimmy Vasser, Bobby Rahal, and Scott Goodyear.
This is the
Villeneuve way in front of the hairpin. Vasser's through. Also Michael Andretti. Robbie Gordon making a move on Gilda Ferrin and goes by him.
Now remember another thing. Gilda Ferrin is in a car that he hasn't tried. He doesn't know much about it, so he's got to be a little careful.
Here's where the problem occurred earlier. De Ferrin, who caused it in the yellow car, is through clean. So no problem as they restart here. Just about 55 minutes late in Vancouver. A long delay after trouble on this chicane on the first lap.
Christian Fittipaldi slowing way down. Obviously got some bad problems. Looking like the tire just came off.
Christian Fittipaldi driving for Derek Walker did start well up on the field, down through the start-finish line. Here on board with the number 3 car of Bobby Rahal. Rahal chasing Jimmy Vasser. Way out in front is Jacques Villeneuve.
Look down the long straightaway. Drafting, look at how the cars are jumping around on that thing. Drafting makes a lot of difference. Rahal was first going to try and pass there. He couldn't quite get to him. He's going to have to wait till the next lap.
There's Bobby Rahal as he pursues Jimmy Vasser and Jacques Villeneuve. Just behind him is Scott Goodyear from Willowdale, Ontario. There is Christian Fittipaldi, no rubber, so Fittipaldi, a tough break for Fittipaldi and Derek Walker.
And we thought a wheel came off. It wasn't a wheel. Somebody must have cut his tire. The tires immediately explode, and the top of the tire, the tread comes off, and you remain with 2 little short sidewalls like that.
Well, we will finally get a race, and a good race going here in Vancouver. Villeneuve followed by Vasser. Look at Bobby Rahal all over Jimmy Vasser as they come through the start-finish area. Villeneuve, Vasser, Rahal, and Scott Goodyear.
And the race is officially on now. They crossed the start-finish line. Now, whatever happens, the race is on the way.
And back on board with Bobby Rahal. These nose cams and the cameras that look back from the rear axle, a tremendous feature in IndyCar racing. Robbie Gordon has moved up to 6th place. There's Gordon going by ahead of Gilda Ferrin, Unser Jr. and Teo Fabi.
Keep in mind when you watch the nose cam when Rahal's car just went by there, that use your eyes when you see that camera and let your eyes go where you see the car is going to go. And that's really what the driver sees.
It's as close as we can bring the viewer to being in the racing car with these on-car cameras. So Jacques Villeneuve with a healthy lead as they come around for the second time on the restart here in Vancouver. There's Vasser, Rahal, Goodyear, Andretti. Robbie Gordon really has moved up now ahead of Gilda Ferrin running 6th. On board with Robbie Gordon as we come across the start-finish area. Bobby, look at the suspension. Explain it for the viewers.
Well, that's exactly what it's supposed to do. The tire's moving, the car is staying stable. The camera is mounted on the rear wing. Look how stable the car is. What you want is you want that tire to follow the contour of the track, but the body not to move. And that's exactly what it's doing. That means the shocks and the springs are all set nice.
There's Robbie Gordon, followed by Gilda Ferrin. Robbie Gordon, of course, incurred the wrath of both Jacques Villeneuve and Michael Andretti in Cleveland. Robbie Gordon actually broadsided Andretti on purpose in that race, and Villeneuve said that Gordon should remember he's driving Indy cars and not the Baja 500. Let's go down to Ken Daniels.
And here's what's left of that tire from Christian Fittipaldi's car. A word is from Derek Walker's pit that he had got caught up with Emo, and it was actually Emo that cut that tire, and that is what's left of it.
And you can see the wheel there. The wheel remains just a little old short stubby sidewall. So anything that cuts the tire, it just immediately explodes. The top of it goes away, and that's what's left.
Villeneuve has now opened up a 4-second lead. The race is right here, back in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th place positions. You're on board with Michael Andretti. Michael Andretti is running 5th as he pursues Scott Goodyear. That's Goodyear right in front of Andretti. There's Andretti in the Kmart car.
Gives you an idea what a chicane looks like.
Good view of the chicane. There's Robbie Gordon, followed by Gil DeFerrin. Let's go down to Greg Creamer.
Thanks, Brian. You know, you wonder about the value of your pit crew. Early on, after that restart, the problems with Gilles DeFerrin's car. Did they want to go to the backup? The setup was different. It would be difficult for him to drive. They left it up to the crew. Listen to what the crew did. They changed the shocks, redid the gearing, the entire suspension, all 4 tires, front and rear wings, the brakes, the steering wheel, and the seat, the only one they had, all in less than 28 minutes. And aside from giving up 1 spot early to Robbie, he's right in the thick of this. This crew did a great job, Brian.
Well, his crew did a great job, but Scott Goodyear has done a great job by going by Jimmy Vasser. Now on board with Robbie Gordon. Vasser must be having some problems. He slowed right down, and Goodyear has moved into 3rd place.
I can't tell exactly what happened, but Goodyear certainly passed him. He did it early, going under the long straightaway. Didn't even wait till the end to do it. So obviously Vasser had a problem. Now we've got a car parked right over there in that chicane. We've got to see who that is in just a bit.
There's Robbie Gordon. Robbie Gordon currently now running 6th. The leader is Jacques Villeneuve by about 3 seconds over Bobby Rahal. Jimmy Vasser is running 3rd. That is the driver Mimo Schiatarello, who is off the track in car 64 from Maranello, Italy, making only his 2nd start in IndyCar racing. Let's see what happened to Schiatarello.
Here he's coming into the chicane. He's on the right. That's a white car. He brakes. He has too much rear brake on the car. The car just immediately, what we call swap in. And there's what I could see. I could only see that part of the wing a while ago, so I couldn't tell who it was.
The car he was alongside belonged to Parker Johnstone. Here's Scott Goodyear. Goodyear is running 3rd, followed by Michael Andretti, Robbie Gordon, and Al Unser Jr. So Scott Goodyear has passed Michael Andretti. Now let's go down to Ken Daniels.
And Jimmy Vasser, his day could be over. We believe he has a broken header, so he's got an engine problem, and Jimmy Vasser's day could be through as they continue to work on his car down here in the pits. We'll have to see.
Now what that means, we're full course yellow right now, but what that means, Brian, when you break a header, these are turbocharged engines. When the header breaks, the exhaust gas, which turns the turbocharger, leaks out into the normal air, and it no longer develops turbo pressure, or in other words, it'll lose 500 horsepower immediately.
Well, the full course yellow brought on when car 64, Mimo Schiatarello, spun out. He is stalled. There is the race leader, Jacques Villeneuve. Now, Bobby Rahal has moved up to 2nd. 3rd is Scott Goodyear. 4th is Michael Andretti. 5th now is Robbie Gordon. 6th is Al Unser Jr. So obviously Jimmy Vasser with some kind of a problem.
Well, obviously. Well, that was the headers that are broken. Now, in just case people wonder, you've got to get that car off. That's in a dangerous place. They can't get the car off without going full yellow and having some room to operate it out there with all the cars scattered around. So that's the reason we're full yellow right now.
And again, the problem, the headers for Jimmy Vasser. A disappointing day for Vasser because he had started so well alongside Jacques Villeneuve. He's in the pits.
These headers, incidentally, are made out of stainless steel. It's the best material they can use. There's nothing else they can do that's any better. The problem is, it's an occurring, it's a problem that happens almost every race. Somebody breaks the headers.
So Jimmy Vasser is in the pits, and our coverage of Players Limited IndyCar Racing on CBC will continue after this. Live in Vancouver, the Molson Indy on CBC continues. They've now completed 9 laps. Jacques Villeneuve leading Bobby Rahal, Scott Goodyear, Michael Andretti, Robbie Gordon, Al Unser Jr., Teo Fabi, and Gil DeFerrin. Gil DeFerrin involved in an incident on the chicane, which is just past the area you're seeing right now, that forced a restart. There is DeFer in the yellow car, forced a restart earlier today. Here's where the incident occurred. There is Villeneuve, followed by Bobby Rahal. Scott Goodyear is now third. It occurred right here. DeFerrin's car flung up in the air, almost turned over, and caused an entire restart. Jimmy Vasser, as Greg Creamer reported, is having header problems, had to go into the pits, and Vasser was running second. Right now, let's go down to Ken Daniels.
And I'm in Vasser's pit, Brian, and now they're working on the boxes. This could be an electrical problem besides the header. They're taking an awfully long time with the side pods, and it could be an electrical problem as well, as now they're putting the side pods back on, so maybe they found what the problem was. But as we continue to check on Vasser's progress, let's go down to Greg Creamer.
Thanks, Ken. I think a little strategy underway here in the Fittipaldi pit. They'd been in just a couple laps ago to fix what they thought was a cut tire. They changed that out. They just brought him in, and all they did was top him off. It's a little bit early for the fuel window, we think. They may be playing the game just a little bit. They were back there anyway, top him off, and then look for track position. It's so important here at Vancouver.
All right, Greg, the pace car is in. We should be racing when they come by the start-finish line. There's Villeneuve, followed by Bobby Rahal, Scott Goodyear, Michael Andretti. The green flag is out, and we are racing again in Vancouver.
Now, a lot of these guys kind of like this yellow, the guys that are not causing it, I should say, because their fuel mileage. It's opening up a window for their pits, Brian, making a lot of difference in the strategy. All the team managers right now are already doing their strategy things.
Bobby Rahal, Scott Goodyear, Michael Andretti, Robbie Gordon, and Al Unser Jr., who's now moved up to sixth. You're on board the number 5 car that's also running fifth, Robbie Gordon, as he chases Michael Andretti. But a good story is that Al Unser Jr., the defending champion here in Vancouver, has made a move and is now running sixth.
He's been moving up. Surprisingly enough, there hasn't been an awful lot of passing going on. We seem to have a lot of incidents that happen at this track, and it's historically always that way, but the passing's been kind of low. Now, one of the things you got to remember, we have sun today, no clouds. The track is, whoa!
Goodyear has spun, Goodyear has spun. That's Scott Goodyear in turn 10. Michael Andretti went by him. Goodyear was running in third place at the time of that incident. Oh, a bitter disappointment for Scott Goodyear.
A snap spin. Watch him right here. He's into the turn. He's locking up his rear brakes. That's the whole problem right there. He got out of phase. He locked up his rear brakes going in. He got into the turn a little bit fast, spun it out. Now he can't move. He's lucky somebody's not hitting him. What a terrible thing to happen to Scott Goodyear.
Well, Goodyear is running again, but will be well back in the field. The leader is Jacques Villeneuve, Bobby Rahal second. Michael Andretti has now moved up to third. Gordon is fourth, and look out, Al Unser Jr. is running fifth. The rest of the top 10, Teo Bobby sixth, Gil DeFerrin is seventh, Scott Pruitt is eighth, Paul Tracy is ninth, and Ribeiro is now running 10th.
There's Robbie Gordon right there coming on the last turn, turn 10, before we come right by where we're sitting. Now they're going by us.
And Scott Goodyear is running again, but is running 24th after spinning on the final turn. There's Michael Andretti running third, followed by Robbie Gordon and Al Unser Jr. Andretti into the hairpin turn at the end of Pacific Boulevard.
Scott's whole problem on that thing was he had his brake balance. They adjust their brake balance in the car to the driver's own suiting. And what he did is had just a little bit too much rear brakes, almost balanced perfectly. But what they have to really do is have a little bit too much front, because you always want your fronts to lock up first if you have to lock brakes.
Car 1 is the defending Vancouver and overall IndyCar champion Al Unser Jr. Al Unser Jr. is running fifth. We're early here in Vancouver. Now 12 laps complete after a long delay of some 50 minutes as they restarted this race. Car number 8 is Gil DeFerrin. DeFerrin is running seventh, and I'll tell you what, he's in a backup car for Texan Jim Hall. He is not doing a bad job at all.
Brian, I almost said that simultaneously with you. You know, they were worried about the backup car not being perfect. It shows you, again, how good the mechanics are. They were able to pick a car without a perfect setup on it, do it fast, immediately put him in the car, and obviously, he's not hurting at all.
Gil DeFerrin running a very, very strong race here. So many young drivers, so many young Brazilian drivers driving so very well.
There's little Al coming out of the tunnel. Going into the second chicane now.
We talked about Gil DeFerrin. His best finish this year, 8th in Milwaukee. Gil DeFerrin, born in Paris, France, but raised in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and raised in Albuquerque, New Mexico, is car number 1, Al Unser Jr.
Now you can watch Little Al. He's setting the sights on Robbie Gordon. Now, Little Al's won this race 3 times. He knows that it's going to be difficult even to finish this one. So he's not trying to do the passing really early on, but down here is where he normally would do it. Now he's awfully close. Gordon has already seen him. He's going to be anticipating Little Al trying something pretty quick.
Well, Al Unser Jr. has won 3 times. Don't forget Michael Andretti, a 2-time winner who is running 3rd. There's Andretti, there's Gordon, and all over Gordon is Al Unser Jr.
Under the tunnel, we're start.
Gordon now putting a little distance between himself and Al Unser Jr. Gordon, a winner this year in Detroit and Phoenix. Now Al reels him in again. Here's a good place to pass. No, sir.
Difficult there right now. The racetrack is slippery, you can see that. But look at little Al running up on him right now. Because the long straightaway's coming up, because the hairpin turn. So this indicates that he's really going to try something down there. Let's see if he does now.
Michael Andretti, there's Gordon, there's Al Unser Jr. all over him. Will he make a pass here at the end of the straightaway? No. It's Gordon, Unser, and Teo Fabi.
And what Cork did right there is he knew little Al was going to try it on the right-hand side. He moved over just enough to block little Al. So that's when you saw little Al jump over and go to the left. Little Al would just assume that Robbie would have stayed to the left, and he would have tried a pass right there.
Teo Fabi is currently running 6th. You know, we talked about Robbie Gordon. As we look at Gordon and Al Unser Jr., Gordon has a reputation for being a bit of a wild man. I mentioned broadsiding Michael Andretti in Cleveland and having problems with Villeneuve in Cleveland. He's hot. Look at this, the brakes. Boy, I'll tell you, Fabi just jumped on those brakes as he followed Al Jr. and Gordon through the final turn. There's Gordon across the start-finish line, followed by Al Unser Jr. and Teo Fabi.
Well, little Al, of course, has got 2 worries. He's got Gordon in the front, who's really working on hard, and he's got Teo Fabi behind him. Now watch this. Whoa, again, right down into the hairpin. Little Al couldn't get by. Gordon is absolutely just staying in his way enough where he can't get by. But pretty soon, if little Al can, for example, get Gordon to go to the right a little bit more each time, then he'll go by on the outside, or at least try it.
Well, a great battle here between Robbie Gordon and Al Unser Jr. And we talked about Al Unser liking it here in Vancouver. Don't forget, Robbie Gordon was 2nd here in Vancouver last year. He was 5th in Toronto this year, a winner in Phoenix and Detroit. So Robbie Gordon knows this course, likes this course, and should do very, very well here for Derek Walker this afternoon. But look at this, back into the start-finish area. There's the leader, Villeneuve, followed by Ray Hall, who's running 2nd. Back to Andretti, who's 3rd. Now on board this great shot, Bobby Rahal, as he chases Villeneuve down Pacific Boulevard.
And Villeneuve's not getting away. Look at Rahal. He's staying right with him. He's not really putting a lot of pressure on, but look at little Al. He's really putting the pressure on Gordon. Rahal right now realizes he's a kind of a cagey driver. He's been around a long time. He realizes this is going to be a long race. Pit stops are going to become even more important than we first thought they would be, or than they normally are, because they're really running so close together.
And right now, let's go down to the pits and Greg Creamer. Greg?
Thanks, Brian. One of the 2 Vancouver Grizzlies cars, this is the Visa Renard of Juan Manuel Fangio, is out early. Juan, first of all, what happened?
Well, I think I brushed the wall a little bit, and I lose air from the tire. And I went a wrong one. I went completely sideways. And so I came back, and there is something else broken from that maybe it was damaged the day before when I in qualifying when I touched the wall. So unfortunately the race is over.
Even though this has been a short season for you with this team, you're coming in full-time with IndyCar and Dan Gurney next year. Good opportunity for you to get a little previous experience going in next year.
Well, definitely I want to thank the full team because everybody is doing is working very hard, and I have a lot of fun in the other 2 races. This weekend it was a little bit complicated, but this is racing, so you have to accept it and get ready for the next one.
Gentlemen, it's great to have Juan Fangio in IndyCars.
And back into the final turn, still all over Robbie Gordon, and he will not get by him as Al Unser Jr. Fangio driving for the injured Danny Sullivan for the Pac West team, the nephew of the great man who died at 84 earlier this year in Argentina. Is he going to make a pass here, Bobby?
He's going to do it somewhere. Robbie is slowing him up right now. Little Al knows that. He's going to have to do something pretty soon. If he's going to progress on for the positions, he's faster than Robbie. But as we know, it's a difficult track to pass on. There's only two basically good places, with a hairpin and the one just before we come into the pits or the front straightaway where we are.
Under BC Place Stadium comes Robbie Gordon, pursued by Al Unser Jr. Robbie Gordon, who lives in Orange, California. He was the pole sitter here last year in addition to finishing second, and was also the pole sitter in 1994 in Toronto. There's Mashusta and the leader Villeneuve, followed by Rahal, Andretti, Gordon, and Unser. Boy, is it close with the top four, and they are about to lap Hiro Mashusta.
Now this is where it's going to change an awful lot. Watch really close, because when you get the lapping cars, that often makes opportunity for some of the guys to do the passing. That's probably what Little Al's hoping for, that Robbie Gordon would get caught behind, but Robbie didn't. Mashusta didn't help Little Al at all on that one, but Mashusta almost quit.
Mashusta, though, let Teo Fabi go by. There's the race leader, Villeneuve, followed by Rahal, Andretti, Gordon, Unser, Fabi, DeFerrin is sixth, or seventh rather, Pruitt is eighth, Paul Tracy ninth, and Andre Ribeiro is running 10th. Scott Goodyear was running third, spun on the final turn, and now is back and running. We'll check it out. He is back in 21st position.
And Michael, look at Michael on Rahal. He's just about underneath him on that turn right there.
And down through the start-finish area comes Villeneuve, followed by Rahal, Andretti, Gordon, and Unser. Oh my, what a race.
Remember, down this long straightaway, they really pick up a good draft. Oh, Little Al was... Sometimes I have to hold my breath when we go into that hairpin turn, because you just wonder, are they going to try it or are they not going to try it?
They come down that straightaway at 180+ miles an hour. Stay with us. Live coverage of the Molson Indy on CBC will continue from Vancouver right after this.
Labor Day.
Back live in Vancouver. You're on board with Bobby Rahal chasing Jacques Villeneuve down through the start-finish area. And no, they try. Al Unser tried to go by. Robbie Gordon on board now with Bobby Rahal. Michael Andretti has moved ahead of him.
Michael got a pass on him there. Boy, it happened so slippery, so fast. Been trying for many laps to get it done. Couldn't get it done. But boy, right by went, and Little Al has gotten...
Here's the pass.
Robbie Gordon.
Michael Andretti by Bobby Rahal into second place just as we came back from commercial, so you don't miss a thing.
That little pass, or that big pass, happened so fast we almost missed it. Michael did an outstanding job on that.
Now Michael Andretti is running second. He's a two-time winner here. The leader is Jacques Villeneuve. There's Michael Andretti, who's second. Bobby Rahal there is third, followed by Al Unser Jr. and Robbie Gordon. I tell you what, Al Unser Jr., who's gone by Robbie Gordon, is about to go by Bobby Rahal, on board now with Robbie Gordon.
Well, he's going to be waking Rahal up in just a little bit. We're on with Robbie Gordon right now. Down the long straightaway in the hairpin. You can see Little Al right there now. He's all over Rahal the same way he was over Gordon just a few laps ago.
So here's the standings. Jacques Villeneuve is the race leader. Look at this. Al Unser Jr.
going into the chicane. Boy, that's one of the hardest places to pass that there is. He didn't do it in the chicane, but entering the chicane. He caught Rahal sleeping a little bit. Bobby didn't think he would try that.
So now it's Jacques Villeneuve, Michael Andretti, Al Unser Jr. is third, Bobby Rahal is fourth, and Robbie Gordon is fifth. You're on board with Gordon. What a race here this afternoon.
That pass of Little Al going into the chicane on Rahal there, that has to have been the #1 pass that we've had so far.
Rahal is into the pits, and by Rahal goes Robbie Gordon. Bobby Rahal must have some kind of problem as he is into the pits.
Well, we'll probably hear that he had a flat tire or something like that going. Now you got Teo Fabi working on Robbie Gordon real quick. Remember what I said, the sun is on this track really bright. It's going to make the track slippery. The drivers are starting to feel it right now. Look at all the rubber that's getting laid down. That doesn't make the track better, it makes it more slippery.
There's Robbie Gordon as he's pursued by Teo Fabi. Gil DeFerrin is 6th. Scott Pruitt is 7th. Paul Tracy is now 8th. Ribeiro is 9th. Brian Herta is 10th. There's the race leader, Jacques Villeneuve, and all over Villeneuve is Michael Andretti. There comes Al Unser Jr. who's 3rd. Look at this. Michael Andretti could make a pass on Jacques Villeneuve at the end of the straightaway.
Well, he's certainly working on him hard. Michael will have no mercy. Villeneuve on the other coin is going to have to be careful. He needs points. He's in a points race right now. Villeneuve, I'm sure, that if it's just another race in the season, would be going a little bit faster than he's going, but he needs the guarantee for the points.
Both Villeneuve and Andretti go by Mimi Schiatarella, so it's Villeneuve leading Andretti. Al Unser Jr. is 3rd, Robbie Gordon is 4th, Fabi is 5th, and DeFerrin is 6th.
A lot of pressure on Villeneuve right now, a lot of pressure. Got a lot of fast guys working on him behind right now.
I'll tell you what, if Gilles Villeneuve, or Jacques Villeneuve, I should say, wins this race here today, it will be a major accomplishment. We're now on board with Michael Andretti as he tries to reel in Villeneuve, because Villeneuve, the race leader, is followed by the 2 men that have won all 5 races here in Vancouver. Michael Andretti goes by Jacques Villeneuve.
Boy, what a pass that was. He got underneath Jacques and just pushed him right on out, left Jacques no place to go, but it was a good, legitimate pass. Nothing wrong with that one.
You think Michael might have touched the car? Apparently, I think he may have nailed the front wing. I'm not sure. We'll have to see. Villeneuve, look at the front wing, appears to be bent a bit on the right side. Now we look back from Michael Andretti's car to Jacques Villeneuve. Tremendous camera work here.
Jacques tried to pass him back in the same place, of course, the next time by, but it didn't work. Michael knew he'd be trying that. It was a good pass, but it was an awful. Watch this right here now. There's Michael coming down. He decides right at the last minute to try it. And boy, it's just a hope and a guessing. The thing that Michael did is he pushed out. He was going so much faster than he maybe even wanted to be. He pushed Jacques on out. If Jacques would have stayed with him, for example, he would have pushed him right into the wall.
There's Jacques Villeneuve now running 2nd, pursued by Al Unser Jr. I don't know. Villeneuve appears to be slowing up a bit. Al Jr.'s all over him. And now Michael Andretti, there's Andretti, is opening up quite a gap.
Well, that's how you can tell. Jacques has definitely slowed down. Now, remember another thing. When they go to the pits, everybody will start adjusting for the hot, slippery track that we've been talking about. The sun beats on the track. The surface temperature gets very hot. The rubber gets on it. That means slippery for everybody.
You saw coming out of that corner the huge gap between the leader, Michael Andretti. Look, Villeneuve's nowhere in sight.
Now, you also know another thing. Little Al knows this. You can't let Michael get too far ahead, so he's going to have to work a little extra hard on Jacques.
So right now, it's Michael Andretti, a 2-time winner here in Vancouver, leading this man, Jacques Villeneuve. Al Unser, a 3-time winner, is about to pass Villeneuve.
It's just going to be interesting to see where is little Al going to try it. He's obviously faster right now, but whoa, look at Jacques. Now, he knew that might be where little Al would try it. He went in there extra deep. He's got a little bit too much front bias on his. Whereas we said with Scott Goodyear, had a little too much on the rear. Jacques has got a bit too much on the front.
On the Pacific Boulevard at 190 miles an hour comes Jacques Villeneuve, pursued by Al Unser Jr., Robbie Gordon, and Teo Fabi.
There's another thing. When little Al sees Jacques locking up his front tires like that, he knows that he's got him worried. He knows the pressure is working.
Michael Andretti now opening up a 5-second lead over Villeneuve and Al Unser Jr.
Well, that gives you an idea how much Jacques is holding little Al back. It also gives you an idea how hard it is to pass on this track.
They've completed 29 out of 100 laps, and I was right when I spotted that. Indeed, Michael Andretti's right front wing appears to be bent, so we'll see if that's a factor as this race wears on. It doesn't seem to be affecting him now. Look at Villeneuve lock up those brakes. Al Unser Jr. cannot get by him.
Now, little Al knows it, though. The more he locks him up, the more he's putting pressure on him. The better little Al's liking it. The thing is he needs to get by in a hurry so Michael doesn't get such a lead on him.
Michael Andretti's lead is now nearly 6 seconds over Jacques Villeneuve into the hairpin turn at the end of the Pacific Boulevard straightaway come Villeneuve and Al Unser Jr. What about Villeneuve's tires? Let's go down. Hang on, hang on. We could have a pass. No, sir. It looked like Al Unser Jr. was going to pass going into that chicane. But right now, let's go down to Ken Daniels.
All right, Brian, you mentioned tires. Well, Newman Haas has been on a harder compound Goodyear tire than their primary for longer use. Jacques Villeneuve's on the softer of the 2 sets of Goodyear, looking for better grip, but apparently the Villeneuve team is going to switch to the longer wear tire, trying to keep up with Michael, so we'll watch for that in the pit stop.
All right, Kenny, here's the great story. Villeneuve being pursued by Al Unser Jr. Paul Tracy, meanwhile, has moved up to 7th place, but this is the story right now.
Well, look how hard little Al's working on him. Really holds little Al, but Jock is using all of the racetrack. He's putting his car right where little Al wants to be to make a pass, which is totally legitimate, incidentally.
Doesn't make a pass here. Michael Andretti's lead,
You can see how little Al, I started to say, comes out of that turn. He's lighting his turbocharged a little bit earlier. The car's getting a little bit tweaky on him. In other words, rear end jumped out a little bit.
Robbie Gordon and Teo Fabi, followed by Scott Pruitt and Paul Tracy. They are now right behind Al Unser Jr. There's Villeneuve second. The third car place of Al Unser Jr., third place car. There's Robbie Gordon, who's 4th, and Teo Fabi, who's 5th.
The cars are light on fuel. We're not too far away. We're 31 laps into the race. Look at little Al moving. He's trying everywhere to pass Jock.
Michael Andretti's lead. Michael's lead is now 6.77 seconds. No, sir. Oh, my, so close. Al Unser Jr. within a whisker of passing Jacques Villeneuve.
Just getting up alongside is not going to be very easy, but I started to say the cars are light on fuel. Some of the cars handle better light on the fuel or light on fuel. Some of the cars handle better when they're heavy on the fuel. It all depends how the guys have their chassis set.
On board with Robbie Gordon, who's running 4th. In front of Gordon is Al Unser Jr. As he, no sir, they take a different line into that corner. Look at this, Al Unser Jr. Oh my, a brilliant pass on Jacques Villeneuve, unbelievable.
Well, I had to hold my breath on that one. Jacques is not handling well. He's holding everybody up. Look how many guys are going by him. He definitely has a problem. He's slowed way down. The entire group has gone by him now.
Teo Fabi has gone by him, so that means Villeneuve is now running in 6th place.
Now we're going to have to watch and see what little Al that he's by Jock, what he does with Michael. Michael, who's out about 6 or 7 seconds right now.
And into the pits comes Jacques Villeneuve. So Villeneuve is into the pits, and he was running 6th. Remember, he must finish 6th or better to wrap up the PPG Championship.
He's well enough in.
Let's quickly, sorry, Bobby, to interrupt. Let's go down to Ken Daniels.
Well, as we said, trying to keep up with Michael as he was before and keep Michael off, they've switched tires for that longer use tire, and they top him up, and Villeneuve has problems on the refuel. Now finally gets out a slow pit stop as well for Jacques Villeneuve, so he's having all sorts of problems.
Ken, we need to ask you, a man was standing in front of the camera. Did he change the wing adjustments on Jock's car? Did anybody change them?
I didn't see anyone changing the wing, Brian.
Okay, then what happened was he came in, got new tires. Apparently they didn't adjust the chassis from what Ken said, so we'll have to see. Did Jock fix his problems? Is that going to be enough of a fix? Was it just tires?
Well, Jacques Villeneuve is now running 13th, so Bobby, it's very important to set the standings. The leader is Michael Andretti. Into the pits comes Robbie Gordon, who is running 3rd. Michael Andretti leads Al Unser Jr. Fabi has now moved to 3rd. Pruitt is 4th. Tracy is 5th. Ribeiro is 6th. Gordon in the pits is 7th and dropping. Herta is 8th. Boisel is 9th. And Fernandez is 10th. A lot of excitement here in Vancouver.
And we're just going into the pit stops. Now, when you see these early guys come in, it's lap 34. That's about the right time. You're going to start seeing all the cars come in just about the time their teams think. There's Hero, Matsushita holding up that crew right there. Pit stops are going to change an awful lot of things, so we'll have to watch for that now.
The Players Limited IndyCar Racing Series will continue live on CBC right after this. Stay with us, folks. Bobby Unser, Greg Creamer, and Ken Daniels. I'm Brian Williams. Welcome back to Vancouver through 36 laps. Michael Andretti is the race leader. You're looking at Teo Fabi, who's running third. Scott Pruitt is fourth, and Paul Tracy is fifth. Let's have one more look at this brilliant pass. Al Unser Jr. going by Jacques Villeneuve, who appears to be having trouble handling the car.
Well, Jacques is actually blocking too much. This is one of the things we talked about to a newspaper guy the other day. He's got bad handling problems, but he's really blocking little Al in a malicious way. That shouldn't have been allowed right there. That's one of the things that Wally Dallenbach needs to come down on a little bit.
So you're saying,
in other words, was off probably 4 or 5 seconds a lap right there, and yet keeping everybody in back. And you could tell that when 5 or 6 cars went by him in one lick.
So Villeneuve has accused Robbie Gordon of reckless driving in the past. You're saying Villeneuve showing some bad driving here this afternoon, blocking.
On that part, it was very unnecessary. Not called for. He'll get reprimanded from Wally for that.
Here's the race leader, Michael Andretti. And these are the back markers, Zampedre and Johansson. They're not a factor. Let's hang on this shot and wait for the second place car. There is Al Unser Jr. So great work there by directors Jim Marshall and Chris Elias, showing us that gap between Michael Andretti and car number 1, Al Unser Jr., who's running second.
Now, little Al really hasn't pulled up on Michael. He's down to 11 seconds now, 11.310 seconds behind Michael. This is the kind of thing we want to watch for the measurement. Now, after the pit stop, which won't be too much longer for little Al, we're going to start seeing different numbers because they're going to adjust their cars one way or the other.
Michael Andretti, who was a winner this year in Toronto. We saw his father Mario in an Italian restaurant here in Vancouver last night, Bobby, and I asked him, I said, what is it about Vancouver and Toronto that Michael seems to enjoy? He says, I don't know, it's either the water or the food, but something appeals. In comes Al Unser Jr. Here it is, very important. Let's go down to Greg Creamer.
All right, Al Jr. up on the jacks. They're changing tires, fuel only. They made no wing adjustments. They stayed with the tires they have. It's the harder compound. We're getting unusually long periods of green racing right here, and it seems to be paying off to go with the hard compound. Al sure liking it, guys.
Al Unser Jr. is back on the track. Michael Andretti, the race leader. Unser is now running 6th. It's Michael Andretti, followed by Teo Fabi.
Teo Fabi spun out right going into the chicane there. Again, the track is so slippery. He's locked up his rear brakes. The car made a 180. He didn't lose his power. He's back running again. That really isn't going to cost him much of a penalty.
Into the pits is the race leader, Michael Andretti. Andretti is in the pits. Ken Daniels.
And Brian, a change of tires and taking on fuel, but no wing adjustment whatsoever for Michael Andretti. Things have been running pretty well for Michael. Give him a push and he's away.
Michael Andretti is back on the race course, and we'll see if he can maintain his lead.
Paul Tracy into the pits, Michael coming out. The interesting thing about Michael and little Al, neither one made any chassis adjustments. Both of them are running the hard compound tires. This is really going to end up being a good race.
And just across the start-finish line now is Al Unser Jr. So Michael pits and still comes back out the leader. The big story is Brian Herta has moved into 2nd place. Teo Fabi, we saw him spin as 3rd. Al Unser Jr. is 4th. Paul Tracy is now running 5th.
And remember, Brian Herta, a lot of the guys haven't pitted yet. What we're seeing is there'll be different leaders right now. That's simply because there are different guys running different positions because they haven't made their pit stop. Once they have, we'll come back on and tell you who lost and who won in the pit stop wars.
Jacques Villeneuve is way back in 15th place after experiencing. There's Teo Fabi. Zampedre is one of the back markers. Here is Fabi's spin.
Here he comes down. He's got a brake. Whoa, look at him. That's too much rear brake on the car, but you can also see how slippery the track is. Doesn't it even look slippery when he's trying to stop, like the car just has no adhesion?
Again, Jacques Villeneuve is running in 15th place. Villeneuve appeared to be running so well, Bobby, but he was blocking Al Unser Jr. and blocking him badly. Michael Andretti, Al Unser Jr. is 2nd. Brian Herta is 3rd.
Now we've got Michael, for example. We said after the pit stops we're going to see. Here's the pit stop war. Little Al is behind only 6 seconds now, 6.7 seconds on that car right there, Michael Andretti. So he gained in the pits. That was a Penske thing. Penske is famous in his pit stops for being fast. Michael lost, little Al gained.
And let's go down to Greg Creamer. Greg?
Gentlemen, just a quick update. Tracy in and out, same scenario. Just changed tires, fueled up. No change to the wings. neither he nor Michael changed compounds. They like what it's doing. And again, unusually long periods of green here, the harder compounds seem to be the ticket. So neither of them changed anything. As Kenny alluded to, same story for Tracy.
But after the pit stop, that man just went by right there. Paul Tracy in third place now. Now he gained in the pit. Some gain, some lose. We did a deal yesterday on pit stops, and it just reiterates how important pit stops are, or how important teamwork is. It is no words that I know to tell people what a guy would ever do without his pit crew.
That's Paul Tracy, pursued by Bobby Rahal and Robbie Gordon. Paul Tracy down Pacific Boulevard into the hairpin turn is running a very strong third. There's Rahal and Gordon right behind him, running fourth and fifth respectively. There is the race leader, Michael Andretti, now by 6.8 seconds over Al Unser Jr.
Again, I don't want to hang on these pits too long, but Tracy was behind all this group. Now he's ahead of him. His crew did a good job.
Michael Andretti lapping Parker Johnstone, who is well back in the field. In fact, he's in 18th place and has just been lapped. Across the start-finish area, completing lap 41 out of 100 is the race leader, Michael Andretti, and there is car number 1 running second, Al Unser Jr. There is Christian Fittipaldi, but Fittipaldi is running 8th and down. Now the gap is only 5 seconds between Michael Andretti and Al Unser Jr. There is the third-place car of Paul Tracy.
Well, we always know that they're going to be different when they come out of the pits. Now, the thing I don't understand is it's different and neither car made any changes. So did they have a psychological meeting with themselves? I can't really tell you.
Paul Tracy is 12 seconds behind Al Unser Jr., who's another 5 seconds behind the race leader, Michael Andretti. Now looking back from Paul Tracy's car, that's Schiatarello, one of the back markers behind Tracy as he comes under BC Place Stadium. And right now, let's go down to Ken Daniels.
Well, Brian, we talked about the harder compound tires for Michael Andretti that have been running so well, and Jacques Villeneuve, we mentioned earlier, started on the softer compound. That's been his problem all day. They have switched to the harder compound now. The team says it's okay. The only problem they've been having is with the tires, so they say. Brian? Bob?
Well, Jacques Villeneuve has now moved back up to 11th place. There's Paul Tracy, who's running third. It's Michael Andretti, the leader, followed by Al Unser Jr., Paul Tracy, Robbie Gordon. Bobby Rahal is fifth. Gugelmin is sixth. DeFerrin is seventh. Emerson Fittipaldi eighth. Ribeiro is ninth. Pruitt is 10th. And Villeneuve, with some good driving, has moved back up to 11th place.
And remember, the track just gets slipperier as time goes on. Just look at it. You can see the more rubber, the more sunshine that's beating on it, the slipperier it's going to get. We're 2:30 in the afternoon. That's about the hottest time of the day right now.
Michael Andretti, car 6 from Nazareth, Pennsylvania. He qualified 5th here in Vancouver, the 1991 IndyCar champion. He has won a total of 7 IndyCar races here in Canada. And here's Paul Tracy this is Andretti hitting the curb in that chicane.
That was a costly thing. That was an almost spin out right there. When you hit the chicane too hard or hit the curb too hard, you get the front end completely in the air. It goes over and almost goes to the wall before it gets back on the ground. So I really had Michael a little bit worried. It's going to keep him off that curb, though.
Let's go down to the pits and Greg Kramer.
A little more information on the Paul Tracy pit stop. You know, when he went into the pits, he was third. Generally, you'd expect him to come back out. Have lost a couple of spots. It was some strategy that allowed him to stay in third when he regained the course. The reason? It's what they call a short fill. The time that it took to change the tires is all the fuel they put in. He's running a little light. Track position. They keep talking about that here. Paul Tracy gained a bunch. Pit stop strategy, the reason, guys.
And just a little bit more for the folks on that one, Greg. A short fill means they don't put it all in, as Greg said. And what they're doing is they're gambling that they're going to be able to get either another yellow or a pit stop at the proper time. They sat there with their calculators. The team managers or whoever's assigned to this figured these things out. Sometimes the gamble is good that way, and you have to go for it.
On board with the race leader, 33-year-old Michael Andretti, a winner this year in Toronto. And his lead, Bobby Unser, is down to just 2 seconds over Al Unser Jr.
And he's obviously hustling as hard, but you can see right there in the camera shot, that's little Al that came into the shot just right behind him. Now, Michael's been watching his rear view mirrors. He's going to see that red and white car. Then he knows the pressure's really going to be on.
Andretti and Unser between them the only 2 drivers to win in the 5-year history of this race. Live coverage of the Molson Indy Vancouver will continue on CBC right after this. Players Limited IndyCar Racing. We are back live in Vancouver, and what a battle. You're looking at Al Unser Jr. pursuing the race leader Michael Andretti. Bobby Unser, the gap was as much as 9 seconds. It's now down to less than 1 second.
I can go a little further than that. Before the pit stop, it was 11 plus seconds. It went down to 7 seconds. And little Al is right on his bumper and already trying to figure out how he's going to pass Michael. Now, we don't think there's about 2 places to pass on this track. Little Al has already shown us that you can pass going into the chicane. Now, he's on Michael. He's already picking up a good draft. Let's see what he's going to do here.
Looking back, look at this. Al Jr. having to go wide and jump on the brakes as we look back from Andretti's car.
He was going to try a pass. He locked up his front brakes. He got in a little bit too deep. He had to swerve to the left to miss hitting Michael. That would have possibly taken both of them out. Little Al doesn't want to do that for sure.
As we look at Al Unser Jr. and Michael Andretti, Scott Goodyear has moved up to 17th. Scott Goodyear qualified 4th, was running 3rd when he spun in turn 10. Jacques Villeneuve is still running in 11th position.
Now here's the replay of it. Watch little Al's front tires. You'll see smoke starting to come off right there on the right front, smoke coming off. He's swerving. He's almost to hit Michael. He has to go by him when Michael cuts in. Almost hit Michael, just barely missed. That's a very similar thing that we saw with the more Indy Lights deal early on.
Michael Andretti, there's Al Unser Jr. The gap is now 1 second into turn 3 at the end of Pacific Boulevard.
It's very difficult to outbrake a guy right now like little Al trying to outbrake Michael going in the turns because the track is so awesome slippery right now. Now we have a full course yellow. The thing's going to be yellow now. Cars that want to will be coming in the pits now.
And the reason is Parker Johnstone that is Marco Greco for Rick Gallis. Marco Greco in a Lola with Mercedes Power, a Brazilian driver driving for Rick Gallis, who's out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, has pulled off. Greco was running in 23rd place. So now a full course yellow, and the field will bunch up. There's a look at Greco's car. Michael Andretti is the race leader, followed by Al Unser Jr. Paul Tracy is 3rd, Gordon is 4th, and Bobby Rahal is 5th. Again, Jacques Villeneuve has now moved up to 10th. He was the pole sitter, Bobby Unser, but was passed by Al Unser Jr. He was blocking and seemed to have some kind of trouble. Came in, changed the tires, as we heard from the pits, and that seems to have helped Villeneuve, who's back up to 10th place. Running now, Scott Goodyear is 16th, and Goodyear started 4th, but spun on turn 10 early in the race. So there's the race leader, Michael Andretti, followed by Al Unser Jr. Now, these are the back markers. There's Goodyear, a back marker. There's Boycelic, back marker. There is the 3rd place car, the Kmart car. That's Tracy. There's Fernandez. He's not a factor. There's Gordon, the blue and white Valvoline car, who is running 4th. Into the pits is Bobby Rahal. Rahal is right up near the front. So Rahal taking an opportunity under the full course yellow to come into the pits.
If you can make that fit your game plan, you got to do it. Marco Greco sitting on the front straightaway. I just want to mention about that. People wonder why they have to have a full course yellow. It's simply because we have cement walls on both sides of this track, as you can see. You have to get the cars off for safety reasons. The race cars have to have at least a full track because it's a lot narrower than normal. You don't have grass to run off on it.
It's a full course yellow. We'll take a commercial break. Live coverage of Players Limited IndyCar Racing will continue on CBC right after this. Back the Molson Indy on CBC. Back live in Vancouver. You perhaps just saw Jacques Villeneuve coming out of the pits. Villeneuve pitting under the full course yellow. There he is, car 27. Villeneuve is now running in 14th place. Let's go down to Ken Daniels.
And again, they had continuing problems with Jacques Villeneuve and the tires. They changed those. It took on fuel. And again, the front man on that right side of the car turned that wing a little bit to the left, Bobby.
Well, that would mean a little bit less wing. That means that he's going to have the front end a little bit looser. It means the rear end's a little bit loose on the car. But it looks like what he got was the 2 right-hand tires. You see the stickers going around on the car. 2 new tires there, but he didn't change the left side. Is that what happened, Ken?
Is what happened. Boy, you got good eyes.
Well, I'm trained to do that, believe it or not. Brian has been training me for days and weeks about this.
There's race leader Andretti, followed by Al Unser Jr. Paul Tracy is running third, crosses in there. Some of the back markers. Salazar between Tracy and Robbie Gordon is running fourth.
Awesome race so far, Brian. Awesome race.
It really is a good race. If you're joining us late, it started. It was a minor accident on the first lap, so they came in, and after it was what, 45, 50-minute delay, they restarted the race. The pit car is, or the pace car is into the pits, and we should have a green flag and go racing again here in Vancouver. There's the green flag. Racing again in Vancouver. Across the start-finish line comes Michael Andretti. Right behind him, Al Unser Jr. Scott Goodyear, who is running way back in 16th position in the yellow car, making a good move to move up in the field, but he is not a factor in this race. The first two cars in the race are through. There's Goodyear, and there's the third place car, the red car 3, Paul Tracy.
He's really in traffic. That was almost like the start of the race right there. Tracy wants to get away from that. He knows Robbie Gordon's right behind him. He needs a little bit of clean air so he can work a little bit easier.
Is it just a matter of time before Al Jr. passes Michael?
It's obvious that he's faster than Michael right now.
He's had the fastest lap.
It's just so difficult to pass here. Where is he going to do it? We already know he passed going into the chicane one time, so Lord only knows where he's going to try this with Michael.
Al Unser Jr. There's Paul Tracy going by Boycell, and on board now with Robbie Gordon. In front of him is Boycell. He's by Boycell. Gordon is running fourth, and in front of Gordon is Paul Tracy. Oh, what a great shot as Robbie Gordon chases Paul Tracy.
Boycell was a good sport and let both of them by. Didn't give it up easy, but he let it by. Good, safe way.
Fastest part of the race course from 190 down to about 30 miles an hour through the hairpin. The Budweiser car of Paul Tracy leading Robbie Gordon.
We watched the Farron go into that hairpin turn. I really thought he was going to have try a pass, and they would have had another traffic jam down there, I'm afraid. But he's really using good sense now.
And there's Al Unser Jr. running second as he chases the race leader, Michael Andretti. 53 of 100 laps complete here in Vancouver. The 6th edition of the Molson Indy Vancouver, and it has been a good one. Here's Robbie Gordon going by Raul Boycell.
Now you can see Boycell on the right. Car jumped around a little bit. Robbie looks over at him. Very happy with it. He's not shaking his fist at him. That's a good sign for Robbie Gordon, you know.
That's a very good sign. Raul Boycell, by the way, running 16th, so he has been lapped by the race leaders. And oh my, look at Al Unser Jr.
You can watch little Al, Brian, when he comes out of the turn. He lights both rear tires up. He's not spinning them fast enough to get the smoke off, but he's lighting them up. And he knows just how much he can do to get a nice drift coming out of that turn. Both he and Michael are on the hard compound Goodyear tires. Hard meaning that they won't get too soft or blister. The temperature is even though it's not so high in the ambient temperature, the sun is beating on the pavement again. It makes the track and all that rubber there get very slippery.
Bobby Rahal has dropped back to 11th place as across the start-finish line come the race leaders. And here is the third place car of Paul Tracy. So a substantial gap between Tracy, who's third, and the second place car of Al Unser Jr. Now looking back from Paul Tracy to Robbie Gordon.
Now it's going to be interesting. They've changed the car, they've changed the tires. We'll have to see if our pole sitter is going to be able to move up from there.
For you people watching that wonder about the camera breakup, when we go to the onboard cameras, this course goes under so many bridges. It goes under BC Place Stadium, so that interferes with the transmission. Oh, that's a hard,
that was a hard
impact.
Yeah.
Hard indeed. That has occurred just below our broadcast area, and that is Ribeiro, Andre Ribeiro, who drives for Steve Horn. He is the teammate of Scott Goodyear, and I'm telling you, he's moving his head. He is a very fortunate young man because they come into that corner at about 150 miles an hour.
You can see if you look on the outsides of the turns, what we're having now is these rubber balls, what we call marbles, that are out of the groove. Ribeiro, obviously, I couldn't tell for a while which one that was, but he obviously came out, got into the marbles, and then directly into the wall.
And the full course yellow is out as a result of the incident. Andre Ribeiro, his head is moving. He appears to be okay, really smacking the wall and smacking it hard. Now, Ribeiro at the time was running 14th. He's okay. Off comes the steering wheel. Andretti, the race leader under full course yellow, is into the pits.
There should be a lot more pit stops right now. Looks like Robbie Gordon coming in right behind him. We should have a lot of them coming into the pits right now.
Back out comes the race leader, Michael Andretti. Also out of the pits comes Unser Jr. There is Unser right behind him. So both Michael Andretti and Unser Jr. pitting. Gilda Ferrens into the pits. There's Teo Fabi. Now there's Andre Ribeiro. You saw the course worker say, "Are you okay?" Ribeiro gave him the thumbs up. But Bobby, this is a very, very dangerous part of this race course. When we come back, we'll look at that accident. Stay with us. The Molson Indy on CBC will continue right after this. In Vancouver under a full course yellow, 57 of 100 laps complete. They're removing the car of Andre Ribeiro. Fortunately, he was not seriously injured. That is a Reynard chassis with Honda power. He is Scott Goodyear's teammate. Now, Goodyear is running 16th under the full course yellow, but he smacked that wall and smacked it hard, and the impact there, the speed would have been in excess of 150 miles an hour. We're going to see it again.
Now, he's out into the marbles. Remember I started mentioning the marbles? The car, look at it collapse. Really didn't do much damage to the car. It looks bad, but it really isn't 1/10 as bad as it looks. It's because the cars are designed to take a crash like that. Look at the course worker talking back there. That guy's no fool, I promise you. So what happened was he got out of the marbles. Look at the side of the racetrack. There's the marbles. We're going to show it again at normal speed. But he got out into the marbles. Those are balls. Look at it, how dirty it is out there. Those are the marbles that I'm talking about. And kaboom, you have no traction when you're out there. It's like running on ball bearings. So it was his fault, probably got out there, but nonetheless, that's the reason the crash happened.
I tell you what, if he had hit about 10 feet further up the wall, he would have hit direct on that opening. So although it looks worse than it was, Ribeiro very fortunate. Now, under the full course yellow, Jacques Villeneuve has moved back up to 6th place. If you're just joining us, he must finish 6th or better to wrap up the IndyCar Championship. So they're removing car 31, the Reynard Honda, owned by Steve Horn and driven by Andre Ribeiro. Let's go to Ken Daniels.
And with me, the engineer for Tasman Motorsports, Don Halliday. Don, what happened with Andre?
Oh, I think it looked to me like very much a motor racing accident where the two of them got side by side in turn 1, which is very fast. Andre may have picked up some marbles and just went to the wall exiting the turn. So
a little slippery on that course too?
No, not really. Online it's pretty good, but that to me looked like offline it probably is pretty slippery. Yeah.
All right, Don, thank you.
Okay, cheers.
Let's go down further pit road to Greg Creamer. Greg?
Thanks, Ken. You know, I think we may be seeing something developing here. Michael Andretti, his stop came on, as I understand it, lap 57. And Bobby, with the fuel mileage, 1.8 miles per gallon, the track about 1.8 miles in length, with these yellows, if this continues a little bit longer, they did top Michael's car off. He's got the hard compound tires on. He might be able to go to the end. This might be his last stop. And if so, track position again might just play the role.
Question, did he adjust any wings on that thing, Greg?
No, he did not. They came in, changed tires, topped it off, dropped him down. He was gone.
Thank you. And what that tells us is he's happy with his car.
Now the big story is, as they will be racing the next time past the start-finish area, the big story is that Jacques Villeneuve, who at one time had trouble right here. Here's the section right where you see that Molson Canadian sign. Unser Jr. Villeneuve was blocking him, and Unser made his move there, and as a result, Villeneuve was way down at one time in 16th position. Villeneuve is now running 6th. The race leader is Michael Andretti. Unser Jr. is 2nd. Brian Herta, a very surprising 3rd. Bobby Rahal's up to 4th. How about Emerson Fittipaldi. You were kidding him yesterday afternoon. You said, Emily, you got to open that throttle. You're not going fast enough. He's moving up here. Villeneuve is 6th. Gugelmin is 7th. Paul Tracy has dropped back to 8th. Robbie Gordon is 9th. And Gil DeFerrin is 10th. So all things being in order, that's Boycel, one of the back markers, that brown car. He is not a factor in this race. He is running 14th. Right behind him, the race leader, Michael Andretti. And past the start-finish area, the green flag should be coming out. Green flag is out. There's Boycel. He's 14th. There now is the race leader, Michael Andretti, pursued by Al Unser Jr.
The reason Boycel is in the front is because that's the way it ended up after the pit stops. There's the two race leaders. Little while, it's going by the outside.
Al Unser Jr. has just passed Michael Andretti to take the lead.
Michael did not expect the outside. Little Al's passes today have totally been where nobody expects them. I could have never foreseen that myself.
Well, he made a great pass right here earlier of Jacques Villeneuve, so it's now Al Unser Jr. with Michael Andretti 2nd, Ryan Hurt is 3rd, Bobby Rahal is 4th, Fittipaldi Emerson is 5th, and Jacques Villeneuve is 6th. Simply an outstanding race here this afternoon in Vancouver.
Unpredictable race. We've not been able to predict anything except that we thought it was going to be a good race, and it's been better than that. Now, Michael is working very hard on Little Al. He's trying to crowd Little Al because the Boycel is up there. He's hoping that he blocks Little Al enough where he can sneak back by.
Boycel again is running in 14th place as they go down Pacific Boulevard. So car 11 is 14th. There's the race leader, car 1, Al Unser Jr. And right behind him, car 6, Andretti. Neither get by Boycel. Should Boycel be giving way?
Yes, I would have thought he would have done it right there. He knows that he's being lapped. He knows he's not on the same lap with him. Michael is slowed way down. Way down. Lost a whole bunch. Let's see what happened on that.
Michael appeared to run into the rear of Al Jr.
That's what it looked like. This is a replay of what happened just a little while ago. It looked like, well, it looked like they ran over somebody's cover lens for their helmet there, but then they got smoke probably off Little Al's tire off of Michael's nose.
Look at the gap. Michael is yet to come around. There he is there, so Michael Andretti definitely in trouble. Al Unser Jr. now with a big lead. There is Michael Andretti. Gugelmin goes inside to pass Emerson Fittipaldi.
Look at the traffic jam. Look at Little Al trying to get through that traffic jam.
Oh, there's all kinds of metal and material. Paul Tracy just went over it on the end of the start-finish straightaway.
Now, the problem with that, I can't tell what it is for sure, but it could be the carbon fiber from somebody's bodywork. And that means carbon fiber, twice the strength of steel, half the weight of aluminum, cuts tires like you can't believe.
There's Paul Tracy, followed by Gugelmin. He's running 5th. You saw Jacques Villeneuve go through, who's now running in 7th place. The race leader is Al Unser Jr. Ryan Herta has moved up to 2nd. Bobby Rahal is 3rd. Gugelmin is 4th. Tracy is 5th. Fittipaldi is 6th. Villeneuve is 7th. And Michael Andretti is way down in 9th place. So Andretti definitely with a problem as they pull off the car of Schiaparello. That is Mimo Schiaparella's car.
His engine is dead, so they're just pulling him off so he can get off the track.
Look at Al Unser Jr. waving at Boycel, saying, get out of my way, get out of my way and let me pass.
Now, Penske crew will go down the cart and say, hey, give him the move over flag. He's not letting Little Al pass. Schiaparello got running there. Now, I didn't think he's going to get that done.
Let's stay with this and see if Little Al can get by Boycel. Again, Little Al is leading the race, and Boycel is only 14th. Michael Andretti has come into the pits. And let's go down to Greg Creamer.
Well, thanks very much, Brian. A big problem. And Michael's not only in, they've shut the engine off. The report was he has lost 2nd gear. He's getting out of the car. Michael Andretti is done. Shades of Australia, perhaps, a little bit more severe. He's getting out. Gearbox problems. We'll try and get a word with him as soon as we can.
None of us wanted to see that happen. Michael has done an outstanding job, but that accounts for the reason that he slowed down so drastically. 2nd gear happens to be one of the most important ones. For example, when you come off that hairpin turn, this one right here, you have to have, or not that one, but the hairpin, I'm sorry, you have to have 2nd gear.
Michael Andretti appears to be all through. He is indeed. Michael Andretti is out of the race. Now back to that story. Look at Al Unser Jr. still cannot get by Raul Boisel. As they went by our booth, Unser was furiously waving his fist.
He's really upset with Boisel.
And Bobby Rahal is now second. There's Bobby Rahal with the traffic in front of Al Unser Jr. with Boisel not giving way. Bobby Rahal has been able to move right back up on his tail. Rahal goes by Schiatarello. There's Rahal chasing Al Unser Jr. Bobby Rahal has moved up to second. Brian Herta is third. Paul Tracy is fourth. Gugelman is now running fifth. Gil DeFerrin is sixth. Jacques Villeneuve is still seventh. Robbie Gordon is eighth. Bobby is ninth. And Scott Pruitt is 10th. Michael apparently...
Look at that, rubbed right up against the wall. That's Paul Tracy there.
That was not Michael Andretti. That was Paul Tracy who went up against the wall. Paul Tracy is running fourth. Paul Tracy pursued by Mauricio Gugelman. There's Tracy as he traces Brian Herta. Car 4 is Brian Herta. Tracy goes by Brian Herta into third. And oh my, Tracy has forced Herta. Gugelman off the track. DeFerrin and Villeneuve get by. There goes Johansson. Whose fault is that?
That's just Paul Tracy's. He got in there too deep. He locked up his rear brakes. Obviously spun it out. He's sitting there with a dead engine. That's a bad thing to do. He wanted to pass. He needed to pass.
And he took number 4. This is a tough story. Brian Herta.
Took Herta right with him. I mean, he just, in order to stop and not have a wreck, Herta. Here's a replay of it. There's Tracy going the inside. He wants to pass Herta. He gets there, but he's going too fast. Watch him lock up. The rears are locked up. Look at that. The fronts are still turning. He has no direction for the car. He hits Brian, knocks him to the left. Brian obviously loses his engine.
There's Villeneuve going through behind Gil DeFerrin. There's Robbie Gordon. So some bad driving here by Paul Tracy. And I'll tell you what, Brian Herta driving for Chip Ganassi. Wow, what a disappointment. He was running third. Let's have another look at it. You're on board now with Paul Tracy. Herta's to the left.
They just didn't anticipate how slippery. Locked up his right front for a while. Look at him just spin around. Not doing 20 miles an hour. The thing spins around. He's really got to be sad and feel like he really did a bad screw-up.
He did indeed, and the race leader, Al Unser Jr., now closely pursued. Look at this by Bobby Rahal. And still they can't get by Boisel. Boisel, who has now moved up to 13th place. You're on board with Bobby Rahal across the start-finish line as he pursues the race leader, Al Unser Jr., who is still trying to get by one of the back markers, Raul Boisel.
It shows you how hard it is to pass here, but it also shows that Boisel has been a very bad sportsman. When you're in 13th place, 1 or more laps behind, it's only courtesy to let the leaders go on by.
Now, Boisel drives for Bobby Rahal and Carl Hogan, so he in effect is holding up his teammate. Now he lets Al Unser and Bobby Rahal go by, so maybe Boisel got the word on the radio, pull over and let your teammate by you.
Well, he obviously got word by the radio. Cart was probably going to do something about that before too long because it was becoming a detriment to the track right then. These two guys are putting on the race. That is, in fact, first and second place right there.
Here's a great shot if we can stay with this. This is the second place car of Bobby Rahal as he pursues Al Unser Jr. down into the start-finish area.
Now, those two drivers would have a lot of trust for each other, Brian. So we're probably going to see some real close racing, but Rahal is trying to put the pressure on. But let's see if Little Al's able to pull away or if Rahal is able to attempt some passes, for example, at the end of this straightaway.
Bobby Rahal pursuing Al Unser Jr. Gil DeFerrin is third. Jacques Villeneuve has now quietly moved back up to 4th place. So some brilliant driving by Jacques Villeneuve, who at one point was down around, what, 17th, 18th after he had trouble. Remember, Villeneuve must finish 6th or better to wrap up the overall title.
And without yellow flags, I calculate still that we're going to have another pit stop by most everybody. I think for sure Jacques is going to have to stop again.
Now let's go down to Greg Kramer.
Well, a tough day, Michael Andretti. Was looking so good. You and Little Al having a great battle back at the front here at Vancouver. What happened?
Gearbox broke. Something in the gearbox.
Cars seemed to be absolutely dynamite until that point. You were able to make passes anywhere you wanted. Some great racing.
Car was really good. You know, I think we had a winning car today, but you know, that's the way it goes.
Been one of those seasons for you. You've had always the speed, not always the results. Looking forward to getting through Laguna and getting ready for next year.
Yeah, we got to get through there. We have to finish that one to try to finish second in points. Now it's going to be pretty tough.
All right, Michael, tough day, but nice drive nonetheless. Gentlemen.
Well, with Michael out of the race leader is car 1, Al Unser Jr. He's already won here in Vancouver 3 times. He's the defending champion, and he's pursued by Bobby Rahal. Now there is Jacques Villeneuve pursuing Gil de Ferran, the yellow car. Villeneuve is 4th and de Ferran is 3rd. There's de Ferran and there's Villeneuve. What a job by Villeneuve as he's come back up through the field, albeit aided by the yellow flag.
Well, but that's all right. You know, everybody has to gain and some people lose by those things. Today you gain, tomorrow you lose. The thing that's important was that they started on soft tires, they've switched, and they've adjusted things to the point to where he's competitive again. And that's what he was lacking for a while.
Across the start-finish area comes Gil de Ferran. He's running 3rd, pursued by Jacques Villeneuve, who is running 4th. They have now completed 70. Teo Fabi has spun. He was running 7th. They've completed, and off the track goes Teo Fabi into the pits. They've completed 70 out of 100 laps. So Teo Fabi, running 7th, comes into the pits.
That was interesting. He spun after the pit stop entrance. He was in the right direction, drove backwards on the track for just a few feet, and came in the pits. What a convenient thing.
Back with the race leader, Al Unser Jr. There's Bobby Rahal running 2nd. The gap appears to be widening between Al Jr. and Bobby Rahal.
This is what we were wanting to see. You know, when you kind of settle things down, there's no yellows, you're out of traffic. Now we can see who's the fastest right now. Now we know for sure that Bobby Rahal is out of sequence with the others on his pit stop. But I can't tell you, some of the cars, because of the way it's happened, I've not been able to keep track of it, but he's probably going to have to start again, or stop again, for a pit stop. Whoa, little Al had a traffic problem right there. That was close.
Bobby Rahal now reeling in Al Unser Jr. He stays with him as they come into that chicane where we had trouble and had to restart the race. There's the race leader, Al Jr., followed by Bobby Rahal, a 3-time IndyCar champion, 1986, 1987, and again in 1992. You know, it's interesting as we look at Bobby Rahal finished 2nd to the late Gilles Villeneuve in the 1977 Formula Atlantic Series. Today, Jacques Villeneuve, if he stays where he is, currently running 4th, will become the first Canadian to be the IndyCar champion.
Well, that would be awesome for him if he did. This is a very unpredictable race, Brian, as we well know and as we've watched today. You can look at the nose of little Al's car, and I see a little bit black. Now, that's somebody's tire that got there.
There's Jacques Villeneuve, who's running 4th. Let's go down to Greg Creamer.
Well, a little bit of an update on a couple of our front runners. Right now, Bobby Rahal running in 2nd place. He pitted on lap 50. It's iffy, very iffy, whether or not they can make it. They're very worried about that. On the other hand, Al Jr., he's out front right now. They pitted on lap 57 with those yellows. That was right when Michael stopped. They just might be able to do it. We're looking at some gambling going on here down in the pit suites right now, gentlemen.
That means little Al has got to do 43 laps. First place, I don't believe Rahal can do it. And especially at running this kind of speed, he can't do it. He's going to have to pit again. Little Al, 43 laps. It's possible, but it's awfully hard to run as hard as it takes to lead this race and make good mileage. This track, you use a lot of fuel because you used a lot of throttle here, so it's going to be really iffy on little Al. I think Rahal's for sure going to have to stop.
There's Gil de Ferran. Jacques Villeneuve is running 4th, followed by Robbie Gordon, who is running 5th. Stay with us. Players Limited IndyCar Racing will continue live from Vancouver on CBC right after this. With Greg Creamer, Ken Daniels, 3-time Indy 500 champion Bobby Unser, I'm Brian Williams. Welcome back to Vancouver. There's Bobby Rahal, currently running 2nd, 1 second behind the race leader, car number 1, the defending Vancouver and IndyCar champion Al Unser Jr. What a race here in Vancouver this afternoon. Gil de Ferran is running 3rd, and Gil de Ferran, Bobby Unser, as we look at the start-finish area. And down comes the race leader, Al Jr. There's the gap, and right behind him is Bobby Rahal. Gil de Ferran, running 3rd, was involved in an accident on the first lap that forced a long delay, 45 minutes, and a restart of this race. There he is there. De Ferran is running in his backup car and running 3rd.
That's in that beautiful yellow Pennzoil car. You can find it on the track anytime it's he's done a really good job. Remember, he went to the backup car that was technically or theoretically not set up just right for the track, and he's just been going like a house on fire all day.
Gil DeFerrin, there's Jacques Villeneuve, who's running fourth. DeFerrin drives for Texan Jimmy Hall, a legend in the old Can-Am series with that Chaparral. We heard from Hall earlier in the race. There's Gil DeFerrin, he's third, and Jacques Villeneuve is now running fourth. By the way, a great race here today. Look at the three-day attendance. The crowd today, just under 73,000. That is the largest single-day sporting crowd in Canadian history.
I think that's awesome. And they're seeing what I think is one of the best races that we've seen in Canada.
There's Gil DeFerrin, Paul Tracy, and Jacques Villeneuve. Now, Paul Tracy is running 12th. Paul Tracy between DeFerrin. The yellow car is DeFerrin. There's a look at Scott Goodyear. There's Scott Pruitt. Scott Pruitt is sixth, followed by Scott Goodyear, who is well back in the field. And there's Stefan Johansson. Let's check and see where Goodyear is racing right now, Bobby. He's running 10th, so Goodyear is 10th. I was saying, though, that it's often confusing. You see Gil DeFerrin, and then you see Paul Tracy before Villeneuve, but Paul Tracy is a lap down, now running in 13th place after smacking the wall.
That spin cost both of those guys an awful lot. In fact, the spins have cost a lot of people. Those first two tires, right there you see them. Scott Pruitt and Goodyear right there. Those are Firestone tires on those cars. We've been kind of wanting to see today how the tires are doing in comparison between Goodyear and Firestone because it's really hot and slippery. Now let's go to Ken.
Well, thank you, Bobby. You know, Bobby Rahal is more or less a stab and steer type of driver. That's not great for fuel consumption. Jacques Villeneuve is smooth. They're trying desperately here in the Villeneuve pit to try to get him to conserve fuel. He pitted on lap 51. Unlikely he's going to be able to make it the rest of the way. 49 laps. He's going to have to pit one more time, you'd have to think, although they're trying to save fuel.
Now remember also, linked in with that, Ken, is they have what we call telemetry. Their computers on board send a signal to the pits, tell them how much fuel that they have in the tank. They hope it's accurate. Usually it is. So they'll be using this an awful lot.
And the top three cars here today using Mercedes engines as of right now. Al Unser Jr., Bobby Rahal, and Gil DeFerrin. There's the race leader. Completing 78 laps is Al Unser Jr. It's a 100-lap race. He's now about a second and a half in front of Bobby Rahal. DeFerrin runs third. Jacques Villeneuve is fourth. Gordon is fifth. And Scott Pruitt is sixth. Into the hairpin turn comes the race leader, Al Unser Jr., and right behind him is Bobby Rahal. Greg Kramer in the pits.
And just remember, little Al, it's very, oh, I'm sorry.
Now let's go down to Greg. Sorry, Bobby, in the pits.
No problem. I was just talking to Jim Hall, and they stopped during that last yellow, and that was in that 54, 55 lap range. They're concerned. They're not sure that they're going to be able to make it. They're guessing right now. You can see them crunching numbers. I looked at Jim and I said, what do you think? And he just looked and went, I have no idea. We'll let you know. It's that close down here in DeFerrin's pit right now.
That just shows you I thought my name was Greg for a while. I just don't know what my name is sometimes.
I'll tell you what, folks. Unser is sitting up here to my right as we look at his nephew come across the start-finish line, followed by Bobby Rahal. Bobby is so into this race, telling me it's one of the best he's seen this year, that he's losing sight of everything else.
Well, I had a story on my mind, and I was going to sell it, and I thought my name was Greg. That's all. Thanks, Greg.
Down through the hairpin, there's Rahal, and an equally big story to Al Unser Jr. leading this race is the fact that Jacques Villeneuve is running fourth. There's Gil DeFerrin is running third. There's Paul Tracy as well back. He's not a factor in this race, so DeFerrin has now opened up some space between himself and Jacques Villeneuve. There is the third place car, the Pennzoil car of Gil DeFerrin driving for Texan Jim Hall. Now, as I was going to say, Jacques Villeneuve is the PPG IndyCar leader. Al Unser Jr. is protesting a victory that he had taken away in Portland. Even if he's successful in his protest, if Villeneuve stays where he is in fourth place today, it doesn't matter. It's all over. Villeneuve will become the first. There he is right there in the blue and white car. Villeneuve will become the first ever Canadian. Oh, Villeneuve has just been bumped by Scott Goodyear. Scott Goodyear appears to have lost control and hit Jacques Villeneuve. Oh, my.
Hit him hard. Man, I mean, that wasn't intentional. It was just an oversight. But, boy,
Here's
now let's see what...
What about the car, Bobby? It looks to be okay.
Looks okay so far. He's being very careful because he doesn't know where he is. Scott is trying to back up so he can get into the pits and get a repair job, get the tires changed or whatever he needs. Villeneuve, on the other hand, looks okay. Doesn't look bad to me. But boy, he was sure being careful after that hit.
He has dropped down to 7th place. Jacques Villeneuve has. Al Unser Jr. is the race leader. So let's have a look again. There on the left of the screen is Goodyear. Look at this.
He just thought he was further ahead of Villeneuve than he was. He cut over and kerbammo. There went his left rear tire. And I'll bet you that Jacques Villeneuve thought, wow, what's he trying to do to me? Now look at him. He's going into the runoff area, and it's the pits. Almost hits the tires of the wall there.
One Canadian may have knocked another Canadian out of the IndyCar Championship, at least for this weekend. Was that Goodyear's fault, Bobby?
Yes, it for sure was Scott Goodyear's fault. He didn't do it intentionally, though, and I guess that's a big accountant. But by the same token, he just didn't get far enough ahead before he swerved over. And I mean, he really should have known better than that one.
Well, Villeneuve has just gone by onto Pacific Boulevard as Goodyear comes back out. But I tell you what, Villeneuve appears to be slowing down. He is only 7th.
It could be the front end, could be bent. It could be
There's
something
Jacques.
we can't see. There he is right there. Still making it around, but of course we can't tell if the front end got bent out of shape or not, but he definitely hit him in the front end.
And there's the race leader, Al Unser Jr. Right behind him is Bobby Rahal. As we look at Al Unser Jr. and Bobby Rahal, let's go down to Ken Daniels.
While we're trying to decipher exactly what's wrong with Jacques Villeneuve's car, they're not saying right now, but yeah, he does have problems, O'Brien.
Well, it would be ironic because Villeneuve must finish 6th or better. He was running 4th. If it's another Canadian that denies him the overall championship on Canadian soil. Remember, Al Unser Jr., you're looking at Al Unser Jr., is protesting his disqualification in Portland. Should he get the race back, the victory back, and win here today, he's still very much alive as they head to Laguna Seca and the final race of the season 1 week from today.
Well, it shows you how close this champion. Whoa, look at Rahal way offline right there. Let's see if Rahal's got a problem now. Way offline. Seems to be all right now. He might have, just remember again, the track is slippery, Brian. Everybody should realize it's really slippery. So there's Rahal, right front tire into the pits. Now there definitely was something wrong. Now this will be Rahal's last pit stop. We wondered if he's going to come in. He's in.
Bobby Rahal's into the pits.
He's got blistered right front tire. The right front tire is blistered on Rahal's car.
Great eyes, Bobby. You can see that clearly. And Gil DeFerrin has now moved up into 2nd place. Robbie Gordon should move into 3rd. Gordon is now 3rd. Rahal has dropped down to 4th as he's back on the track.
Rahal blistered a tire. He just saw he had to come in. He couldn't take that gamble on fuel. He didn't have to anyway. Well, it's the marbles. It's all the trash on the track out there, those marbles that we showed you right there. He has no adhesion when the tire blisters. It's really bad. Just to come close to having a wreck there.
Bobby Rahal is now back in 6th place. Jacques Villeneuve is still 7th, so the race leader is car 1, Al Unser Jr. Gil DeFerrin is now 2nd, 8 seconds back, followed by Robbie Gordon, Scott Pruitt, Stefan Johansson, Bobby Rahal, and Jacques Villeneuve. Live coverage of the Molson Indy on CBC will continue right after this. Players Limited IndyCar Racing continues live on CBC. There is Jacques Villeneuve. Jacques Villeneuve is now still running 7th, but Bobby, he appears to be going at half speed. That car is definitely not 100%. After Scott Goodyear, it wasn't intentional, but it was a mistake. Went wide and smacked him hard just before turn 10. It was right here.
I mean, smacked him really hard, and I really thought it was going to knock Villeneuve completely into the wall because Scott really hit him hard. It wasn't intentional, but it certainly was a bad oversight.
It's a bad oversight indeed. There's Robbie Gordon, who's running 3rd, followed by Scott Pruitt, who's 5th. Or 4th, rather. Stefan Johansson is running 5th. Scott Pruitt in the Nike Just Do It car. And right behind him is Stefan Johansson, who has been on the podium before here in Vancouver.
He's been doing a good race today. He's a good race driver. That's Tony Bettenhausen's team. AMAX have a good car. That's a Penske car. I made it. Whoa, look at Salazar out there. Get into the marbles, you can't stop and you can't turn. Some of these guys hit the wall from it, some of them don't. That one missed it.
The yellow car is Gil DeFerrin, who's now running 2nd. That's Paul Tracy behind him. Tracy is well down. He's a lap down in 9th place. Gil de Ferran, quite a story for Texan Jimmy Hall, who was involved. Villeneuve is now dropped down to 8th place. De Ferran involved in an accident right here at that exact location on that chicane in the first lap. So they restarted the race after about a 50 or 45-minute delay. He's in a backup car, and is he putting on a show here this afternoon?
He sure is. And I started to mention a while ago or explain about Villeneuve when he got hit there. We can't see that he's bent. But remember, these are very intricate cars, and technology is to the nth degree. If his front end gets bent out just a little bit, he no longer has the speed he did before, and that's what it looks like.
Jacques Villeneuve is running 8th. He trails Emerson Fittipaldi. Let's go down to Greg Kramer. Greg?
Yeah, Brian, I just talked to both of Al Jr. and Emo's crews. In Al's case, they still hope, and that was the key word there. They hope they can make it all the way to the finish. They said it depends on a couple of things. In Emo's case, and that's a great story, they don't think he's going to have to come in. Both teams have tires on the wall and ready just in case. Keep in mind, after Emerson's early contact with Christian Fittipaldi, he pitted. He was back in 27th. They stopped out of sequence to try and take on tires and fuel and get back into that serial position. He's back up to 6th from 27. Almost had a great day.
So is Al Unser Jr., his teammate, and you saw car 1, Unser Jr. lap Jacques Villeneuve, who is in 8th place, so there are only 7 cars on the same lap. Here is the race leader, Al Unser Jr., now by nearly 9 seconds. There is Jacques Villeneuve, who is running 8th.
And he's offline.
Get up to 6th place. 6th place or better to wrap up the IndyCar title. There's Gil de Ferran, who's running 2nd. Ken Daniels, what's wrong with Villeneuve in the car?
To put it in 3 words, gearbox problem. So that's the word from Kim Green here in Villeneuve's pit. Jacques has gearbox problems, Brian.
Well, he's got some kind of a problem, and there's the answer, because look at Gil de Ferran. He's already been lapped by the race leader, Al Unser Jr., and he's about to be lapped by Gil de Ferran.
Now, Jacques has been getting out of the way. He's been a very good sport about moving out of the way. He's got problems, and now we know that it's a gearbox and not the front end bent. Now, in little Al's case, just an update on that, he's going to have to do like 43 laps on that last load of fuel. He's only got what we show as 6.7 seconds on de Ferran, and so he would like the short shift to get better mileage to make it to the end. Now, Penske will be making his decisions, and he's going to really have to play some hard ones.
The 2nd place yellow car of Gil de Ferran, pursued by Paul Tracy, who's a lap down in 9th place. Stay with us. We'll return for the finish here in Vancouver. Players Limited IndyCar Racing will continue. It's a 100-lap race right after this. The Molson Indy continues live on CBC. They have completed 90 laps out of a scheduled 100 here. You're on board with Bobby Rahal. Bobby Rahal is the 6th place car, chasing Stefan Johansson, who's 5th. The race leader is Al Unser Jr. Jacques Villeneuve, going through right there, is now back in 9th place with gearbox problems, so it looks like Villeneuve will not wrap up the IndyCar Championship here on Canadian soil if Al Unser Jr. can win this race, and Villeneuve does not advance up until at least 6th place. Speaking of Al Unser Jr., Greg Kramer, if you can hear me in the pits, is he due to come in again, or can he make it on this load of fuel?
Well, I just had a little chat with Roger Penske himself, and when I asked him, I said, does Al have to come in? He was very definitive about it. He looked at me and he said, absolutely not, we're okay. There's the story.
Well, that's a good story. Thank you, Greg. And I can tell you one thing. If Roger Penske says that, he's darn sure. That guy makes very few mistakes in life itself, you know.
Bobby Unser, of course, you drove for Roger Penske, won the Indy 500 in a car owned by Roger Penske. On board now with Bobby Rahal as he chases Stefan Johansson.
The blistered right front tire on Rahal took him all the way from 2nd on little Al's bumper, clear back to 6th. Really hurt him a lot, but we thought he had to come in for fuel anyway. He got out of sequence.
Bobby Rahal trying to move up. Al Unser Jr.'s lead is now nearly 10 seconds over Gil de Ferran. Robbie Gordon is running 3rd. Scott Pruitt is running 4th. Johansson is 5th. Rahal 6th. Emerson Fittipaldi 7th. Paul Tracy is 8th. Paul Tracy just going into the start-finish area there. Raul Boisel is 9th. And Jacques Villeneuve is now dropped back to 10th. It looks like he will not wrap it up here in Canada.
Well, it isn't over yet. You know, I just if this racetrack is always different, we've had an exciting race today. We always see weird things that happen. Look at Ray Hall.
Ray Hall makes a pass on Johansson. Oh my, Ray Hall has moved into 5th place, going ahead of Stefan Johansson. Great driving by the veteran from Ohio.
And that's the first successful pass we've seen going at the end of the long straightaway for a long time. Usually, they've been somebody spinning out. Here's a replay of it. Watch Ray Hall. He isn't really close enough to normally think that he would be able to do that pass. But he does it. By golly, he was really careful. I mean, he went down there with no problems. At any rate, Ray Hall got way behind because of a blistered right front tire before.
There's Scott Pruitt. Ray Hall trying to pass Pruitt, who's 4th, and go into 3rd. He cannot. He's followed by Johansson. So across the start-finish line comes Scott Pruitt, who's 4th, followed by Bobby Ray Hall and Stefan Johansson. On board now at 190 miles an hour down Pacific Boulevard. Will Ray Hall get by Pruitt, who won this year at Michigan for the first time? No, sir.
Remember, 93 laps completed. We're very close to the end of this race. Pruitt has really got to try hard. Ray Hall wants to get him.
Jacques Villeneuve is now dropped down to 11th place. There's the race leader, the defending champion here in Vancouver, and the overall IndyCar champion, Al Unser Jr. And Bobby, he's now just starting to pull away nearly 12 full seconds in front of the 2nd place car of Gil de Ferran.
All year, I've been watching them. They've gotten very good mileage with this car, little Al's car. And I think that Penske's right. He's probably going to have enough fuel to the end.
Well, Al Unser Jr. has won at Long Beach and Mid-Ohio. Greg Creamer, I talked about Gil de Ferran doing a great job today for Texan Jimmy Hall. You have some information?
Well, I certainly do. You know, earlier on, the crew did the great job with that early stop, rebuilding basically the spare car. Since then, Gil has been running exceptionally well. As a matter of fact, it's all Gil de Ferran right now. He is short shifting. Bobby talked about Al Jr. doing that. Gil is doing it right now as well in fuel conservation mode. They think they're okay. It's that close, but they're hoping.
And there's Gil de Ferran in the backup car driving for Jim Hall. It's a Lola with Mercedes power. The race leader also in Mercedes power. That's under Mercedes power. That's Al Unser Jr. There's Robbie Gordon, who's running 3rd. Robbie Gordon drives for Derek Walker.
And he's done a very good job today. That first lap deal just about lost a lot of cars for us, and we don't want that, because the main thing is to see a good race. That's what all these people come out here for.
Bobby Unser, if people are just joining us on this holiday weekend, let's bring them up to date. Jacques Villeneuve started on the pole. There was an accident. There's the race leader, Al Unser Jr., and the accident occurred right there at that exact place. Gil de Ferran was involved in it. His car almost flipped, so they hadn't completed a lap, so they brought the entire 28-car field into the pits. De Ferran got into a backup car. They topped up every car with fuel, and after a delay of nearly 1 hour, it seemed forever. It seems like you and I have been up here for a couple of days. They started racing again, and it has been an outstanding race here this afternoon. Jacques Villeneuve was passed by Al Unser Jr. Bobby thought at the time Villeneuve was blocking. Villeneuve then went way down in the field, worked his way back up to 4th place, and then was knocked almost out of the race by Scott Goodyear. It was not intentional, and we now understand that Villeneuve in 11th place has gearbox problems. So Villeneuve is de Ferran, the 2nd place car, comes across the start-finish line. We follow the major stories, Villeneuve being one of them. Whether or not he can wrap up the IndyCar title today, he will probably do it next weekend if he doesn't win today, but he had to finish 6th or better, or Al Unser Jr. had to be down below 12th place. And right now, with 3 laps to go, Al Unser Jr. is the race leader, and Villeneuve is way back in 11th place.
It just shows you how things can change. We could all counted the chickens before they hatched, before the race started, but we were smart enough not to do that. Villeneuve took off controlling the race early on, but he went with a softer compound, something we didn't know. The tires didn't work. Everybody else, for the most part, was on the harder compound. They did. But it looks like Bobby Ray Hall, who also ran 2nd for a long time, was on the softer tires because he blistered his right front.
That's Bobby Ray Hall, currently running 6th, trying to move into 5th place. The 5th place car, the Nike car, driven by Scott Pruitt. Pruitt leading Ray Hall. And there's Scott Goodyear behind them. Goodyear is not a factor. He is back in 14th place. It was right here that Goodyear went wide and smacked hard Jacques Villeneuve.
And Scott, right there, Scott Pruitt, where it says just do it. That's another Canadian thing getting involved. That's Nike of Canada. Nike shoes of Canada, finally into motor racing.
And by Scott Pruitt, yes, by Scott Pruitt goes Bobby Rahal.
Good pass.
Rahal has moved up into 5th place. Pruitt drops down to 6th. The race leader is Al Unser Jr.
There's another place where you don't see passes, in the middle of the straightaway where they're going back and forth. Amazing.
There's the race leader, Al Unser Jr., as he comes by the start-finish area. Al Unser Jr. now with a big 13-second lead over Gil de Ferran. Al Unser Jr. about to win in Vancouver for the 4th time. There's Jacques Villeneuve, the blue car, car 27. Villeneuve is running 11th, just ahead of Parker Johnstone, who is in 12th place. So it looks like Jacques Villeneuve will have to wait until 1 week from today at Laguna Seca in California to become the IndyCar champion before heading off to Frank Williams and Formula 1.
You can see how little, or how careful little Al is being not to even make an issue out of passing Jacques right now. He'll pass him if it's an easy place. Other than that, he knows that he's got 12, almost 13 seconds lead on de Ferran, so he's really being careful.
Now, as Unser will come by the start-finish area, he could put Jacques Villeneuve 2 laps down. The white flag is out in Vancouver. 1 lap to go. Al Unser Jr. on his final lap as he tries to win the Molson Indy Vancouver for a record 4th time. He won here in 1990, 1993, and last year. He's trying to make it 3 in a row. It would be his 3rd win of the season. He won in Long Beach. You think he owns this course, Bobby? He owns Long Beach.
Well, Long Beach and Vancouver, by golly, 2 places that are beautiful. Of course, I think this is the most beautiful racetrack in the entire world because of Vancouver itself.
There's Gil de Ferran. He's 2nd, but he's 13 seconds back. No doubt about it now. Al Unser Jr. on what has been a very, very exciting Sunday afternoon here in British Columbia will win the Molson Vancouver Indy for the 3rd year in a row, or the 3rd year in a row, the 4th time overall. It's official. There is the checkered flag as he raises his left fist in the air. Al Unser Jr.'s the winner. Here's the 2nd place car, Gil de Ferran, and what a story, driving for Texan Jimmy Hall, involved in a 1st lap accident into the backup car. He finishes 2nd. There's Roger Penske, the winning team owner, as Penske continues to dominate here in Vancouver.
You can tell all that white hair is caused by some kind of reason. His race drivers, you know.
Jacques Villeneuve is way back in 15th place. So the story here is that Al Unser, who is protesting his disqualification earlier this year in Portland, is still very much alive. There's Villeneuve, the blue car, just behind him. Al Unser Jr. still alive in the fight for the overall points title. Roger Penske is protesting the disqualification. Jacques Villeneuve will have to wait until at least next Sunday at Laguna Seca in California before wrapping up the IndyCar title.
Doesn't make them really happy. Barry Green has probably been sweating steel down there all during this race today. They were very fast, fastest car. There he is right there on the pole. Dominated the early part of the race, but couldn't bring home a 6th or better that he needed to win the championship.
Well, he had gearbox problems, and he was hit hard by Scott Goodyear just near turn 10. In fact, it was right here, Bobby, that Goodyear went wide and banged him. I thought was going to knock him out of the race. It turns out he has gearbox problems. Here are the first 2 cars. On the left, the 2nd place car of Gil de Ferran, and what a day for this young man. And there's the winner on the right, Al Unser Jr.
Outstanding job for de Ferran. I mean, really outstanding. Jim Hall, the crew, they really did a good job to end up in 2nd place after almost being on their head in the 1st lap.
Into the pits comes Jacques Villeneuve, a very disappointing 12th for Villeneuve. There's the winner in Vancouver, winning for the 3rd year in a row in this city, the 4th time overall, driving for Roger Penske. Al Unser Jr. wins the 1995 Molson Indy Vancouver on CBC.